Hello, hello, happy Friday. Welcome to our Friday Witchy Hangout. We do this every single Friday where we get together and we ask a juicy question of the universe. And today we are asking, what is the message that you missed from your guides? Something that they were trying to impart on you or get you to see or recognize or to understand. And yeah, we're just going to try to peel back and see what got discombobulated or just what didn't come through at all. So welcome. We do have an anchor card. So I'm going to go ahead and put that up there. The anchor card is not a choice of pile, but it is sometimes an anchor card comes out. It's just a common energy that's kind of rooting and anchoring the reading. And if you've been around here before, you know that I feel like we read the cards together, even if you don't think of yourself as an intuitive person. I think if you're being drawn into tarot, I feel like spirit is kind of nudging you to explore this side of yourself, to get in touch with your intuition, to try and figure out how it works, how it's trying to guide you, how it's trying to lead you. So I feel like we read the cards together and that I'm picking up on general messages, but you might pick up on something that is more specific to your situation or like a little pocket kind of group within. I think that's probably how things go. So get a good look at that, get a good sense. This card might appear in your mind or something as we are moving through, but the anchor card is the river. And then I'm going to go ahead and put up our choices. So these are the actual pile choices. So pile number 1, we have the mother. Pile number 2, we have the vow. And pile number 3, we have Kairos. So I'll put this up here. If you haven't already chosen your pile, now is a good time to do that. However, your process goes for that. And while you do that, we will just take this moment to have our moment of silence where we turn our gaze inwards and we allow the energies to kind of just settle in, and we try to connect with that part of ourselves that is beyond our ego and our concept of ourselves and anything that we have going on in our lives, and just connect to that kind of observing energy. And from that place, engage with the reading, engage with picking your pile. So and whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes and be drawn into whatever pile or multiple piles that you are drawn into. And if you happen to be drawn into a bunny butt behind me, that means that you're a pervert. I'm kidding. I'm joking. Get it? Because we're doing the message that you missed from your guides. Anyways, I didn't mean that. That was just a joke. Okay. Pretty woman. Yay. I'm really excited about this one. All right, so I'm just going to leave this up for another couple of seconds, but if you need a little bit more time, you can go ahead and pause this here, and you can catch up whenever you are ready. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go ahead and do this. We've got pile number 1, the mother. The mother. Guess what? Your message is, you're a pervert. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. I'm joking, but here's a little bunny butt action for you. This is an energy cleansing method. It's very sophisticated. It's just really sophisticated. You know that rabbit's feet give you good luck, and what you didn't know is a little bunny butt it clears all the negative energies right up. It just breaks it right loose. Okay, so all right, we're having a little fun here. So pile number 1, let's see. What can we do here? This is so funny. I feel like with my voice, something about it just reminded me of Mr. Rogers. Okay, what's going on in the neighborhood? Which kind of ties in with this kind of nurturing mother energy. So Spirit, for pile number 1, what message did they miss from their guides? Spirit, what message did they miss from their guides? Message to pile number 1, miss from their guides, Spirit. I just heard that. I'm so proud of you, and I feel like a little tear wanting to kind of come through on the side of my eye over there. A little leakage, just a little leakage. Okay, number one. For some of you, if you have a parent that has passed on, oh my gosh. Some of you have a parent that's passed on and they feel they're wanting to come through and they're just saying like, you never knew, like, I'm so proud of you. Maybe this person was like really hard on you or something. I'm pulling out a lot of different cards here, almost like a bit of a spread. I don't usually do that on the lives. Okay, they're wanting to kind of, again, clear that kind of energetic space around you to receive this message. Okay, so the Six of Wands just flopped over. That's not really a part of like my spread, but they want a victory for you, and there is some type of karma that you're kind of like moving through. And with this is Saturn and Leo for me. Leo ruling over that 5th house, and you know this is a love tarot channel. Like we process through love and relationships. I feel as an entryway to understanding base kind of ways that we work and ourselves work. You know, relationships really do hold up a strong mirror. So I feel like on the surface, it looks like we're talking about relationships, but really we're talking about life and spirituality and things. So they've had you move through something to do with that 5th house. I feel like maybe you've been through a difficult time to do with romance, or possibly even something to do with like having a family or kids or something like that. But your guides are, again, I'm feeling that tear energy, like they're trying to move you through to some type of victory. And with this Justice card coming out first, it's right out of the gate here. This is the only major arcana card that came out. It's holding a lot of weight. So this is something to do with like a soul journey. There is like some type of balance, because I always notice with this card, like see her little scales there. They're like kind of out of balance. I'm hearing it's out of balance to bring you back into balance. Something here. It's like moving you towards some type of victory. Okay. So what is the message that you missed? There's definitely something behind the curtain going on here. Oh, okay. So this has something to do with like making some type of decision. And I feel like your guides are seeing you kind of do this, you know, because I feel like they brought you some type of information, and whatever it is, it's like karmic information, you know, to do with like a blockage or some kind of, you know, difficult experience, something where you've had to kind of like slow down and work through. And I feel like you're in this kind of like, like energy, but and maybe it's, I'm going to pull some more cards here because it's just kind of starting to come in. It starts up and then it hasn't really like kind of completed a process, but what they're wanting for you is some type of ending, some type of like completion here for something that really isn't serving you. Something's out of balance. Oh, wait. Oh, okay. Hold on. Okay, it's coming through. This is just taking a little bit of time. Okay, so this has to do with your intuition. And this has to do with like listening to them and the way that the messages kind of come through. And it has to do with the difference between these two energies here, like the Justice card and then the 6 of Pentacles. So I feel like something's come through and you're considering whatever it is that's come through. And you have to like kind of consider it, like weighing it kind of back and forth here, right? But you're thinking about it in this Libran Justice energy kind of way. And something about it is like Libra, for me, it's like, it's on the same level, or it's like, you're comparing apples to apples somehow, but just kind of like weighing it up, where the kind of balance that comes through in the 6 of Pentacles is much different, because it is, it's not an equal give and take, but not an equal give and take doesn't mean that it's not fair and that it's not balanced and it's not equal overall. And I am actually getting a parenting kind of relationship. And I think they're wanting you to consider that there is a fairness where parents give to their children, because there's this Libran energy. This Libran energy, okay, this has to do with like the moment. Like you experience life. We all experience life moment to moment to moment. And if you try to understand this Libran energy, this fairness energy, or if you try to make sense of a certain time in your life or a certain moment in your life that you were going through, and it's like that particular moment was out of balance in a certain way in regards specifically to the energy of giving and taking, right? And I feel that for a lot of you, this is platonic. It could be romantic, but I feel like this is maybe platonic. I don't know. Take that how it resonates. But it's out of balance in that particular moment. Life plays out in terms of like scales and cycles. And I believe that we have more than one lifetime. And there's a karmic exchange. I don't like to think of it as like transactional in this kind of tally system, but there's like this kind of living, breathing karmic exchange where we kind of move in and out of balance, move in and out, like your body moves in and out of homeostasis. Like we kind of, it's the process. I'm hearing life is the process of moving in and out of balance. And but we have to take this broader perspective of what balance is. So I feel like there's something here that you are trying to make sense of. And I think it has to do with maybe a parent-child relationship. Maybe you're trying to make sense of a relationship that you have with a parent, or you're a parent that's trying to make sense of a relationship that you had with a child. And maybe you're trying to get the energies right, like you're trying to get the balance right, or you're trying to understand like what is the proper balance. So Spirit is saying there are some relationships in life where it should be equal like this, give and take. Like it should be like more reciprocal, because it's kind of like that phrase, to each according to, you give according to what you can give, and you receive according to what you need to receive, kind of a thing. But a parent-child relationship, and it's not the only relationship like this, it's just really good to illustrate this example. Like a child is not going to give to a parent the same way that a parent is supposed to give to a child. If that child did, it would be out of balance. That's called like parentification, and it causes things to get like all messed up. So I feel like there's somebody here, and maybe for some of you, Spirit's illuminating this about like your parent, where your parent may have been emotionally immature or just immature financially or something. And so they're thinking that you should have known better. It should have been more tit for tat. They thought that you were more capable. And I'm not saying that you weren't capable, but it's like, if you're capable as a 13-year-old, you're still a 13-year-old, and like, I don't know, there could have just been too much placed here. But there's a way in which I think Spirit is trying to talk about balance, or like trying to talk about relationship or relationship dynamics. And it's either like to help you understand that something wasn't necessarily right or fair, I don't know, or to help you understand like, well, maybe it was fair. I don't know. It has something to do with fairness is something that doesn't play out moment to moment. Sometimes like things are kind of moving and breathing, but then it gets kind of, I don't know, it brings it back like with time playing out, if that makes sense. So it's not like, okay, right now I haven't had like a perfect tally, so that was all messed up and now I have karma because of that. No, like we're all kind of, it's a broader calculation than that. I'm doing a very bad job of explaining this. Okay, what else, Spirit, for pile number 1? For pile number 1, what message did pile number 1 miss from their guides? Okay, the Empress energy. This has something to do with like pain. Huh. Okay, I think for a lot of you, maybe this is your pile. This was what Spirit would illuminate for a parent that isn't getting it, like isn't really understanding. Oh, I've missed a couple super chats here. Thank you so much. Sunny Night Designs, always good to see you. Thank you so much for the super chat. And Tiger Butterfly, thank you so much for the super chat. I think for a lot of you, this is like, a lot of times pile number 1, I think, is your own energy. And this is maybe what somebody would try to describe to you. And actually, when I click into that perspective, it's starting to come through a little clearer. So kind of building off of that, like, I think some of you maybe struggled to have a conversation with a parent, because I think the dynamics of the conversation are all off, where they're, the dynamics of the conversation are all off. And so you're trying to kind of be understood, and you're trying to explain to them that things were kind of out of balance or out of whack. And the parent might not realize that they were out of balance or out of whack because they parentified you kind of too early. That's the way that this is coming through. There's other things that this potentially could be, but it's like, it's kind of what I described earlier, where it's like, I don't know, I treated you fairly, I treated you kindly, but really they put a lot of shit on you, like as a 13-year-old or something. And, they didn't carry their parental weight. They're comparing their parental weight to your child weight. And they're saying like, we both kind of gave about the same amount. Like, but they should be giving more. They should be, they have to pay the rent. They have to be the one worrying about, this. That's what is like fair or right. And so they weren't really doing that. And so you kind of felt exposed, or something here like that. And there's been like, it could be that this is a romantic relationship too. I don't know. There's a lot that this could be, but then this Empress energy has like this dagger through her heart, and there's pain there, and it's kind of like healed up, but there's like scarring, and she kind of looks fine on the outside, but there's still a dagger through her heart that needs to be kind of like removed. And I feel like somebody here wants a new beginning. They want to have some type of like new relationship. And I kind of feel like this person has a chip on their shoulder about that. Like they're looking in at you, or maybe this is you looking in at somebody else. Again, like take this however it resonates. They're looking in and they're like, well, you seem like you're doing great. You seem like you're doing fine, because the Empress is an energy that's very like stable and is growing and flourishing and is very balanced and is, very positive to be around. And this is a person who's feeling angry about that. Well, you're fine, and so they're looking at, it's either, this could be you, I guess, like looking at somebody else through this lens of like, you're like, oh, well, they're fine. Or again, like your parent could be doing this to you. looking in like, oh, well, you're fine. Like you are doing really well in your life, but there is still like a lot of pain here, and there is like a lot of protection or defensiveness. And this person is looking through the lens of defensiveness. They're looking through the lens of defensiveness, which is why they're getting like all angry, and they're getting all upset, because they want to have some type of victory, and they're trying to move through their own karmas here. So I feel like for a lot of you, this is just the way it's coming through. It could be a different kind of relationship. But the way that it makes sense to me is like there's a parent here who I think you have defended yourself from, cut off from. That person really does not understand. And you're frustrated because there is clearly karma that's being worked out here. Because there wasn't fairness and there wasn't balance. But the kind of fairness and the kind of balance is a parental kind of fairness and balance, which is that the parent needs to be giving way, way more than the child. The parent needs to be pulling way, way more of the weight. And so this parent is not really looking at it through that lens. So when they're trying to understand like what they did wrong, and I don't really think that they're trying too hard because they're looking through that lens of defensiveness. They're saying that things were like more or less okay. And I'm actually getting that there was way more harm that was done here because their role, because they didn't take, they weren't living the parent role. That's kind of what I'm getting. They really weren't a parent. Maybe they were trying to be your friend, or they really didn't embody the parent role is what I'm getting. But it's kind of like they were just kind of a person going through life, if that makes sense. And we exist on that level, but then there's these certain roles that we kind of take on. And the role of parent is like the role of protection and the role of like nurturer here. And it's kind of strange in some instances where a lot of kids who have been through very tough things, they can become exceptional adults in certain areas of their life. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're balanced or that they're well-rounded, but they can sometimes like think about a pop star or something where it's like they get a lot of attention and a lot of money and a lot of accolades for like a particular thing that a lot of times can be a defense mechanism or a coping mechanism. And people think, oh, wow, that person is like so great, but they're great at like one particular thing that kind of became their defense mechanism. They became an expert in that thing, but everything else is kind of like out of balance, because I think this is just something I've been playing with in my mind where it's like, being in balance as a human being means like just fitting into the balance, like kind of all things. It doesn't necessarily mean standing out. And so somebody here is like really not understanding that the give and take was kind of off. And I also think that somebody here like they were supposed to be nurturing and providing a level of like protection and softness. But instead they feel more comfortable when like you're in a beggar kind of role. It became about like some type like material goods or something, like, well, I provide the house, I provide the room that you sleep in, or like the food. And that pattern of your interactions has maybe held over into adulthood, where this parent feels more comfortable when you're needy, like on a material level. But when you're not needy on a material level, they don't know how to interact with you, like in some type of way. And so there's a justice energy that hasn't been balanced out here. I feel like the relationship has always been off here. Like it was off when you were a kid, but I feel like when you were a child, and flip the energies if you need to, but when you were a child, I feel like you didn't know because you didn't have life experience. Your brain was still like kind of developing. It was the only thing that you really knew. So you didn't know that other people had it differently, And then as you grew up, I think you kind of realized that dynamic was off. And I think that you tried to speak about that, but your parent, maybe they didn't realize that the dynamic was off either, but they're also not willing to change. They're not willing to learn. They're kind of blocked off because they're looking at this through the lens of defensiveness. And there could be like what I would refer to as a family curse here, which basically means maybe this is just the way that it's been done in your family. And so like your parent might literally not have ever had another example either, but they didn't, for whatever reason, have like the interest or the resources, internal or external, to like really try to unpack those like patterns. They just sort of like lived them out. But you are the one that kind of realized it, and you were trying to talk about it. But then the conversation, you don't know how to speak about it, because once again, I feel like you're having to kind of lead the conversation from the bottom, or from like, I don't know. And you're trying to talk about these things like fairness and balance and give and take and these concepts, but there's a nuance and a complexity to these concepts that this parent is like not getting. Or it could be like a boss or something where it's like, we don't have the same role in this relationship. And I think they might even, it's something to do with like making amends as well, where it's like, this is your family that you decided to bring into the world, and you're not guiding, you're not leading, you're not, you're not taking the lead. You're not taking like the initiative. You're just sitting back in this like victim kind of mentality, but yet you are the parent and you are in the power position. You are in the driver's seat for 20 years, if not longer, in some instances. And now all of a sudden you don't, you want to sit back and play an anemic kind of role when the chickens have come home to roost, and when you have a fully formed frontal lobe and you understand what's kind of gone on. And I'm not really even getting like that you want to like scream at this parent. I'm not even getting that I'm more getting that you want to fix the dynamic. Like you need for them to, understand that you just need a fair dynamic, something that works for you, something where you don't feel exhausted every time that you're kind of around them, where you don't roll your eyes every time you think about going to Thanksgiving because you just expect it to kind of play out a certain way. And so maybe, how is this what you missed? Like, it's something about like listening to your intuition about like things not being balanced, things being unfair. So I think maybe for some of you, you are this parent and your intuition was kind of trying to come through and saying like, look, this is too heavy for this person. Like, see how one side is like really, really weighted down? It's like somebody here, like there is some type of relationship, and it doesn't have to be parent-child, but if this is a romantic relationship, it could be a romantic relationship where one partner has parentified the other. And they're like very angry and they're trying to defend themselves because they don't want to be parentified, and they're like carrying too much of the weight here. Yeah, it took a while for this message to kind of, for the wheels to get greased and for this to kind of get going. And I think that that's kind of echoed this sort of process, because I think that it's like somebody here is trying to get through to another person. They're like desperately trying to get through to another person. And they're feeling like they're not getting anywhere. So they start to get more and more angry. And it's like, because the reason is because they're trying to have a new beginning. And it's because they want things to feel like soft, and and in this instance, I feel like it's maybe the child who's trying to say like, I would like for our relationship to be appropriate. If this is a romantic relationship and one party has like parentified the other, and so they're doing all the hard work, they're doing all the adult stuff, then obviously the relationship is going to die. And that person is noticing it. They're trying to be the canary in the coal mine. They're trying to get somebody's attention that says, this is not sustainable and I don't want to break up with you. So we have to get our dynamic okay so that this can be like stable. But I think somebody is viewing that person as being like angry, but really it's that they want a new beginning with you. They're going to have a new beginning if it doesn't like level out, but they need to understand that you understand fairness. This like that something here has not been fair. It's not been just. It's not been equal. And then the conversations around it have not also been fair and balanced and equal. Somebody is like always kind of having to do most of the work in the conversations, because the person who's on the listening end of the conversation is listening with their defenses up. But this has to do with karma. Like somehow this has to do with the karma in the relationships. And the message from your guides is like, they're not trying to hurt you. They're actually trying to help you. Like there's nurturance that they're trying to get you to kind of like connect with, but it has to do with proper roles and proper relationship balance, where like if this is a relationship, it's like, I'm not your mom, so don't treat me like your mom. I don't pay your bills. Like you don't have chores, those are your kids. Like you need to parent your kids, and if if you have stumbled, if you're like out of balance, then you need to be the one taking initiative in your life to get back on balance. And you need to move with the sense that the people around you matter, and that there's a sense of urgency to not be a leech and to not be a drain, and to not have our relationship dynamics be out of balance for like a long period of time. But if this is a parental relationship, it's like, and it could be that there's a parental, like a parent-child relationship that, your relationship with your parents changes as you get older. And so it's like this dynamic needs to change. Like that's another thing. It's something here is just out of balance. But I feel like there's, it's being viewed here as like a fight or an argument or a competition. And it's not. And that's part of the karma, is like even the very lens of viewing that as a fight, a competition. There's a lot of friction here, but there doesn't have to be friction. The reason that there's friction is because somebody here who is kind of the responsible party for the relationship dynamics being out of balance, I feel like there could be an actual problem here. Something here that's like kind of gone on, but that's not actually the biggest deal. Like whatever the actual problem is, not the biggest deal. The biggest problem and the biggest threat to this relationship is that the relationship dynamics are out of balance. Like it's not equal. Two people are not feeding equally into this situation, and they should be. So if this is a romantic relationship, then like that's a relationship where it's Libra. These are two adults that that should be able to know themselves and get themselves kind of functioning independently and then engage in a healthy, like kind of back and forth. But if one person's doing all the giving, and this is a money card, so, or like the brass tacks of it, the pentacles, it's always the brass tacks of it, the meat on the bone, the grit kind of energy. So if you have that being off, where it's like one person gives smiles and kisses and the other person is actually making sure there's a roof over your head, that is not fair and that is not balanced, and it's also not the way that dynamic is supposed to go. Whereas like with a parent-child relationship, if a child is being treated like this, where they're kind of being treated as like an equal, and I don't mean equal in their value, like every human being has equal in their value, but there's certain roles that we have to play in order to be in balance and in order to genuinely bring like fairness, because a child has to onboard onto their adulthood. And so if you're not playing that role, then it's kind of like removing a child's opportunity to have that, in their life. And instead you're treating them like an equal, but then like sometimes you have to put your finger on the scale to kind of tip the power back in your favor, because you haven't been embodying the role. Not necessarily you, but maybe like your parent or somebody. The proverbial you is what I'm talking about here. But yeah, like then you have to put your finger on the scale, and it's because somebody here is not embracing the role of parent. It's just like, I don't know, trying to be human beings or something. So somebody here is like very angry, and I feel like that's being like misread. Something here is just being misread, and it's really because of defensiveness. It's really because of it's because of defensiveness. And I feel like somebody here who is desperately trying to be heard knows that. They know that somebody is feeling defensive because they know whatever they have to say isn't like, you did a great job and everything's fine. But it's not their attitude that's like the problem. The situation's out of balance, and that's going to be an unpleasant conversation. You can try to do like the sandwich and everything, but at the end of the day, the information that this person has to deliver is not great information, and it's going to land. If you really understand what they're saying, it's going to land, and it's going to make you think, I have something I need to change if this is going to be saved, because there's going to have to be a new beginning here, because somebody here is like really persevered for a long period of time with that Knight of Wands energy. That is the energy of perseverance. It's like sweat. It's like somebody here could be like at the end of their rope, and somebody here is like not really seeing it. There's somebody here who's kind of an unreliable narrator, but they're also an unreliable observer. And I'm kind of getting that with like people's facial expressions and like an unreliable observer just of like life, because they have a motive, because they are out of whack. Like they're not playing the role that they should be playing. They're not engaged in that properly. So they have a motive. Their brain, their mind, their ego has a motive to defend itself and to distort reality and to say, well, I think that you are getting like very angry. And they are angry. They're at their wits' end and they're frustrated. That doesn't mean that they hate you. That doesn't mean that. What it means is that something needs to change. What your brain should register here is they need help. And the help that they need is me to hold up my end of the bargain. And that's what they're asking for me to do. And that's how we create this like loving, nurturing space. So there's something here about roles too that just came through. Like it's about creating this like loving, nurturing space. And like, I don't know, because for some, there might be a parent energy where the parent is, I don't know, like, again, they try to put their finger on the scale here it's something about authority. Like they mistake a parent role for the role of an authority. And don't get me wrong, parents, that's a part of their role, but it's also like creating like a loving, nurturing kind of space where your kid feels like they can open up and talk to you and stuff. It's something here about roles being different. So, okay. So pile number one, spirit guides. What have they missed that you were trying to bring to them, that you're trying to... I just heard the word fix. Like they're trying to fix something here. They're trying to help fix something here. Yeah, I mean, this is making me very sad, because I feel like there's like some type of power games, some type of social games that are being played like maybe in the family or something, where I'm going to say like this parent is trying to get certain people on side here. And the Three of Cups for me can be Ashleisha energy, which can be a group that pretends to be like kind of all nice, but then like this person's hiding behind in this like foliage wanting to take the higher cup. Like the guides are trying to give this higher cup here, which has to do with like some type of clarity, and it has to do with happiness. But again, with the material, like somebody, oh, okay, I get it. There's something that I've been calling reunification rituals. And I mentioned it in a reading. I don't know if it's come out yet. I think it has, at the very least on Patreon. But I've been thinking a lot about these like reunification rituals. So because the role isn't healthy and because the dynamic isn't healthy, there is no true amends ever being made here. There's no true like listening that's happening here. So what happens instead is these kind of like reunification rituals where like enough time goes by, or like you wait for somebody here to be like off their game or like needing some help. And so somebody like needing some type of support, and they should be able to rely on their family and their friends and their partner and their like support system. So it's like waiting for somebody to like be going through a hard time in order to kind of nurture. But I feel like it's nurturing through kind of giving a little, like, but seeing that little as like a lot. So it's either nurturing through sentiment and not through action. So like if somebody comes through and like they're sad and you're listening and you're like, oh, my poor baby, that's giving sentiment, but then like the behavior never actually changes. And so like the cycles keep kind of repeating. And it's because somebody actually, it's hard to change, like it takes effort, but I am kind of getting that somebody here's a bit of an authoritarian, or they're the one that's like taking this authoritarian stance of like, well, I don't want to change. And it could be like in this, it's like fucked up kind of like behind the scenes. This is behind the scenes. The power struggle is behind the scenes is what I'm getting, where I think that there's a parent here that's like, well, I'm the parent. Oh my gosh. Okay. So their whole relationship to the role of parent is like so fucked, because I feel like somebody here, they actually do think about parent as being authority, but they don't think about the responsibilities that a parent has. This always reminds me of, in America, we're supposed to have rights on one side and responsibilities on the other. And you hear a lot of talk about, well, my rights this, my rights that, but we don't talk about the thing that kind of like holds our rights in place is our responsibilities, right? Like we have a responsibility to interact with democracy in an alive way so that we don't lose our rights, so that we don't lose the governance of ourselves, kind of a thing, And I feel like there's something here of the role of parent in particular, or the role of partner in particular, where it's like, well, my right is this, well, I have every right to fall down, or I have every right to not be perfect. Okay, but this is a person who, there's a weird authority thing, but it's sneaking around like in the back, and it's either like some kind of authority that they feel they have over their own life, right? And that's the thing that it blows up in their mind. Is the only thing that they think about, that they don't think about the responsibilities that they have to other people. And it's like they might give some type of lip service because they do maybe sort of recognize it, but it's not the priority. But it's behind the scenes here. So they think about, well, I'm the parent, and so it's my right to do this or that, but they never think about, okay, I'm a parent and there's certain responsibilities that come with that. But it's like emotional responsibilities, to their kids, to be the emotional leader of a family, to be the spiritual leader of a family, to demonstrate like genuinely making amends. I've worked with kids a lot in my life, and I've always really, really tried to, if I'm the one that messes up, I will immediately and first say sorry. I don't make them have to tell me that I hurt them. Yeah, there's sometimes that genuinely I might not know. But when I'm dealing with a toddler, probably I'm going to know that something was off about that dynamic and I lost my temper a little bit there, and it's important for me to go over and say, hey, I'm sorry, I really lost my temper. I should have spoken more kindly to you, and to start those kinds of dynamics and then you demonstrate as a person, see how I hold myself accountable? And that's one of those things that seems like a single step. But in order to hold yourself accountable, you first have to be self-aware. And you also have to care about other people, and you have to be kind of plugged in, not in a ridiculous way, but you just have to sort of understand like, hey, I bet that hurt. That's like having empathy, and starting that. And I just feel like there's a parent here, or there's somebody that's maybe in a relationship with somebody else that wants all the perks of being in that relationship, or the perks of the role. Insofar as they relate to the role, they relate to like the perks of the role and the authority of the role and the rights of the role. They don't relate to like actually the responsibilities of being like a sister or a mother, and that means that you engage with the relationship hygiene. And somebody who's doing that is listening through a defensive ear at all times. And so I think I think this group, okay, and it's taken a while to kind of get there. And I think that's what your guides are trying to say. That's another thing that you've missed. Oh, they want you to empathize with them too, because there's something about their role as spirit guides, and that it's something off about that as well. Like the way that you think about spirit guides and like their responsibilities versus like your responsibilities, something about that might be off as well. But I think because I've struggled through this reading where I'm like, I can't quite like grasp it, and I had to kind of like work my way up. That's definitely them trying to get the message through. And they're saying like in the process of trying to get the message through, sometimes maybe people will lose interest. they'll kind of zone out because they're like, oh, I don't think this is for me, or this isn't really like kind of taking, but they have to work up to the traction in order for like somebody to kind of get the purchase of the traction that they're trying to like get through. So it's like, it's taken a while, and sometimes it does, is what they're saying. And that's like totally natural, for it to take some time in order to kind of turn this over. But they're trying to help you work through some type of karma. And this is 5th house karma. So it has to do with maybe children, maybe legacy. It could be that somebody here is angry. Instead of getting receptive, they're angry about their legacy. Maybe their legacy with their children, where it's like, well, you see me this way, but I see myself this way. And it probably can be like talked out, but you'd have to listen first. You'd have to like really soften those defenses. You'd have to listen from like not an ego defense mechanism kind of place, and really try to hear what they're trying to say to you. Like what the child is really trying to say to you has been their experience of you, And there's the other thing where, power dynamics are very interesting in relationships, because it tends to be the people that have less power that understand the person or the group that has the most power the most, because they're at the whim of it. So they have to read your every little move, so this child is trying to figure out how to navigate the home environment, and they're reading your every little move, so they can navigate it successfully and well. Their survival depends on it in a lot of ways. So it's important to, even though they might not have authority, they are the expert. In a lot of ways, they're the expert. So it's valuable. It's more valuable than gold to be able to, from an egoless space, actually hear that feedback, and then be able to step back into the full role of parent, and not just the entitled, like, well, I have a right to this, or I have a right to that. That means you don't understand your role. If all you're thinking about is, well, I have a right, my authority, and you don't understand there's a role. A role means there's a service you need to perform, and you need to have skills, and you need to be good at those skills in order to like actually perform the role of parent. And I feel like somewhere along the way here, that the fact that like, oh, this is a skill. It's not just one skill. It's like multiple skills that are kind of broken down. And I need to be able to evaluate myself on how good I am at each of these skills, because the result that my child, or like whoever this is going to have to deal with, it's the same too if this is like a romantic relationship where one partner has been parentified, where it's like, oh, it's not just about me being entitled to this or that. And like, then I get to be, every time somebody kind of, brings up the fact that I'm not functioning, like I get all like indignant and haughty. Like, no, you're in a relationship. This is a skill. And it actually is like a bunch of little skills, but you have to be able to look at yourself through a neutral lens and be able to evaluate like, what skills am I really, really good at, but what skills am I not? And when I'm not good at a skill, how does that affect somebody else? And how can I get good at a skill? And that's like me taking the responsibilities of being whatever role is, here. And that's how you clear your karma. But also, I feel like there's a thing at the end of this that you want, some kind of shiny thing, and it's 5th house stuff. So it's either you want a healthy romance, like a healthy romantic partnership. You want a legacy, you want children, you want family. This is how you get there, is like your guides are saying, we're not trying to hurt you. We're not punishing you like by throwing these obstacles in your path, because it's so unpleasant to deal with these obstacles, right? Where it's like, well, I thought of myself one way, and now I'm being reflected back to by my partner or by my child or whoever, like that I'm kind of a different way to kind of deal with. That's hard for me to look at. I don't want to. So I'm going to listen with the defensive ear, and I might kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like, conciliatory, but it's like I might concede, like, okay, well, you're kind of right about this stuff. But then it ends up only being in sentiment, like where you can only meet them in that moment, because it's so hard and it's so painful, like where you can just kind of listen and be like, okay, and you hear it in sentiment. But then like when you actually have to do the work of like looking at the actions here in order to truly make that amends, that doesn't necessarily follow through. And so the hurt continues, kind of a thing. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to even try to say your name, but thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and guidance. Oh, you're welcome. I feel like I'm just like channeling this. I don't really feel like this stuff comes from me a lot of the times. It comes from us, we, the group. So thank you. But yeah, so I feel like, oh my gosh, I just looked down and I saw this Roman numeral, but I read it as like I, like the mother energy. So okay, yeah, that's another thing that's coming through, is like, I feel like somebody embraced, again, the role of mother, but this could be like father or anybody. Because mother, I feel like, yeah, it's parent, but it has like that nurturing kind of thing. So I feel like even if you're a father or whatever, it's like that kind of nurturing role. It's about I. Like somebody here is like looking at this role of like mother, even if it's like you want to have kids or something. It's like looking at that role as like, this is what I want, and it's like, there's some type of karma here, and it is actually protective, I think, of like you or whatever the slowness is, whatever the obstacle. It always reminds me of if you ever had like a dog or a cat that eats too fast, and you can get the inserts that you can put in their bowl that they have to like sort of eat around so they don't hurt themselves. Like that's what karmic blocks are. That's how you can think about them. So it's helpful. Like it's not like an annoyance, but it's like, oh, okay, so my spirit guides had to put like the little eater thing in my bowl so I didn't like try to eat it too fast, and I actually have to slow down and chew my food, and like, that's like all it's trying to do, so that you slow down and you really think about it. You don't just go like in a kind of that, in like a pattern, that rote kind of like, oh, I'm just going to get in a groove with this, because the groove has to get looked at. It has to get changed. But in order for the groove to get changed, there needs to stop. You need to look at it and actually kind of assess like where in the process is this getting off kilter. Because I think if this is you, for instance, like if this is resonating with you, I feel like you're like, well, the intention is there. My intention is there. And that's the thing. It's like, so I'm not like a completely bad person. But I think that sometimes when you hear through that lens of defensiveness, it's like all you hear when someone's like, criticizing and criticizing is one of those words that kind of has a bad ring to it. And I think that if we didn't live, this is just, pardon me going off here for a second, but if we didn't live as wage slaves, as a part of like a capitalist society that doesn't recognize our bonds, like our tribal, familial, community bonds as like forms of labor that we have to be able to engage with, I think we would have a different relationship with criticism, because we would have like much closer relationships to the people who are like kind of giving us this feedback, where you're not like at the end of your rope because you worked like an 8-hour day, and you would know that you could trust them because you've been able to spend time enough to like actually know like that's coming from a good place. And I think a lot of us in our relationships, when you really stop to think about where a bit of information is coming from, you kind of do know that it's a safe person if it's coming from a safe person. But again, like we're all just kind of like so exhausted. But I think what's going on here is like, again, listening through that defensive ear, all of that kind of piles up, and not all of it's an individual problem. Some of it is like systemic as well under the conditions that we kind of live in. But listening through that defensive ear, it's like you just hear like, oh, great, I'm a bad person, or I'm a fuck up. And I'm not trying to be a fuck up. And that's what you're like trying to say, or like that's, and they know that. I feel like somebody here on the other end, it's like they know that, and they're not trying to say that, but they're trying to have a nuanced conversation. But like I said, the conversation and the balance like kind of gets all off, because somebody here is like, you're a bad person. And then if you're the one hearing this information, you're like, well, my intention isn't to be a bad person, but something is going on between intention and action that needs to get looked at. There's like a mismatch. Oh, that's the Libran. There's a mismatch between what my intention is and my actions, and like the way that I'm coming across. And if it's, and again, like the person who's giving you this information is everything, because there can be people that you don't know very well that are super messed up on the inside, and they don't have a very good, they're not like they're the unreliable narrator in their own life. They're the unreliable observer because they're listening from a defensive angle, and then they're trying to throw it on you that they're trying to give you advice. I'm not talking about those kind of dynamics, because I think whatever this one is, this is somebody who's been in your life for a long time. And this is somebody where that they've kind of sucked it up. That they've tried to be quiet. That they have poured a lot into you. And, I feel like there's something here where if you really stop to think about it, you would know that this person is a certain way. They've really helped you a lot. That their energy, they have really taken the time to like invest in you, or they have given you the benefit of the doubt. And so it's important to just hear what they're actually really saying, instead of just cutting off and listening through that defensive lens of, oh, well, they're just saying I'm a bad person and I'm not a bad person. They're not saying that. That's not what they're trying to say. They're not trying to lump you in a class with a bad name. They're not trying to like dump you into one type of category. They are wanting a fair and balanced relationship. They're wanting also for there to be a conversation that feels reciprocal, and it isn't just built on sentiment. They don't want to watch you perform. And I know, like, for a lot of you, if this is you in the moment, because I think for a lot of you, this is a parent that you're dealing with or somebody, but I know it doesn't feel like that. Like, you probably do feel genuinely sorry, but then maybe you feel completely lost and overwhelmed when it comes to like actually fixing it. And I think one thing that's coming through is that this person should not be the person that leads you through fixing it. Like, it's okay to go to therapy, and say like, I'm struggling with this or that, but be honest. Don't throw that person under the bus. Your therapist is not a judge. Like, your therapist is meant to reflect back and like say, I can understand the way that you see that. They're not saying that's the ultimate truth and that's the ultimate reality. And the thing that you're not supposed to take away from your therapist is like, so then there's nothing wrong. And I like, be honest about what this other person is saying, Don't try to hide in order to perform and like put on a face for your therapist. That's what they're there for, to actually help you like work through the problem. So it can be important not to put all of that on this person, where it's like, well, you're the only one that can see like what the problem is. It's important for you to kind of take that over and you start doing the reflective work. Even if you can't make a change in your actions just yet, in permaculture, there's a phrase that says, when in doubt, do nothing. So even if you just have a conversation where you're like, hey, I'm just going to pull back for a second, because I'm confused about like what to do. And if it's coming from like a good faith place, and then you start practicing that muscle of self-awareness, and kind of putting an empathy and like putting yourself in that person's shoes and really thinking like, try to understand what their experience is, even if you disagree with it. And you still might, once you go through these kind of exercises, like you still might, but you'll be able to advocate for yourself better. You'll be able to have that more specific, nuanced conversation. And then if you do that, and the person you're speaking to is able to kind of like do the same thing, then they might say, oh yeah, I guess it isn't that. I guess it's more like this, and you'll be able to get to the bottom of it, because what this person ultimately wants is a fair relationship that's more equitable. And they want a better conversational pattern between the two of you. And I'm really getting for a lot of you, it's like there's a parent here who really truly thinks that just because they shot some semen or because they busted a nut one time, that they are like the full godlike authority over somebody else. And I think that there's maybe a performance that's not the case. But like behind the scenes, there's a weird thing about authority. But it's like it's entitlement. And I'm not saying that this person has like narcissistic levels of entitlement where that's like their personality. And it's like, I think it's in this particular relationship. And I think there's something here. It's like, it is a defense mechanism where it's like, well, I have every right to like do this or that. Even if this is a romantic relationship, again, where somebody's parentified the other person, it's like, well, I have every right not to function. And it's like, you kind of don't actually. You have every right to go through a hard time. There's a difference of going through a hard time and then just not functioning, and there needs to be some honesty there. And it's because there's this thing in the back of your mind where even if you are performing, having healthy conversations, it's going, well, this is wrong. This is fucked up. Like, well, what do you want from me? Get off my back. Like I'm doing this or I'm doing that. Like, or the parent who is like, yeah, but I know best. And there's certain things where parents have like more experience, but actually the child is the expert on them and like what's going on inside of them. So it has to be this kind of meeting in the middle at some point. And I feel like that's been tread upon or it's been violated in some way. And that is the biggest problem here. There's been a violation of the Libran structure or the Libran energy, which again, if for some of you, if this is a parent, the Libran structure here looks more like the Six of Pentacles. Where it's like, if you're sitting there thinking like, well, my child put in just as much effort as I did, you're fucking up. You're fucking up. Okay. So is there anything else? I feel like that's it pretty much for this one. There is something weird about money here. There is something weird about money, potentially. Where maybe somebody here feels like somebody like hit the jackpot or like won the lottery or something, like that their life is so much easier or something than that. And they're thinking like, well, I think they're thinking the basic parent things where they're like, well, I put a roof over your head. Please explain to me who in their right mind has a child and does not intend to put a roof over their head. Like your child doesn't owe you for that. You should do that. That's the bare minimum, But then I think they're thinking, for some of you here, it's like, that's my star man. That's my star person, like I'm having a hard time. So that's my ticket out kind of thing. Or again, this could be like a partnership where it's like, well, you're supposed to be my coin purse or something. But it's really not about that. It's about like a relationship, like these kind of relationship dynamics. And I don't know, there's something weird here about like the give and take in the relationship where the way that somebody is using it just like shuts off entirely the whole give and take process, which shuts off like the mirror helpful function. But I think I'm going to leave that there. So your guides, what they're saying that you missed is everything that I just described, but they're not trying to punish you. Like you're not in trouble. I feel like somebody here is like listening through a very defensive lens where I think the thing that they have to say, and I don't think it's necessarily your guides. I think it's like somebody here that you have karma with to like work through. The thing that they have to say is unpleasant. It's a way that they feel is unpleasant. And I think there's maybe a way where if this is you or again, like whoever you're dealing with, they think I just heard somebody say this line. They couldn't get you on substance, so they're critiquing you on style. They couldn't, this was, I was watching a debate and yeah, they were like, they couldn't get you on substance. So they were trying to critique on your is up and coming, but again, super bright, and made a pretty solid point that could not be refuted. And so, like people do, they start doing like the weird ad hominem attacks, all those logical fallacies. That's when they come in, when the logic starts to kind of falter. And so I feel like you have something here going on, and it's either going on behind the scenes and you're not owning it in the conversation. You're kind of performing like a healthy conversation here, and you actually think something different behind the scenes, but you're just sort of going along with it because you feel like that's what you're supposed to do. But that's why there's, still animosity here. Like the karma has not actually been like worked through, or this is like the person that you're dealing with. It's something here about like the substance that somebody was trying to say is spot on. And I feel like there's something off in the conversation. It's because the substance that somebody is trying to say is spot on. But, because it's something hard to say, it's like, whatever the substance is like, this is incorrect. This has hurt me. This isn't a right way to do things. That's correct. And so somebody doesn't want to hear it. They're listening through a defensive lens. And so they're starting to critique that person on style. And I think they're wrongly trying to pin the tail on the jackass here, when they need to be like, they're wrongly trying to say that, oh, well, I just can't listen to what you're saying because you say it in such a rude way. And it's like, well, what I have to say is that you were an absentee parent who didn't ever love me and care for me. And I don't know the right way to say that. I don't know the pink clouds, fluffy rainbows way of shooting that into your asshole, but I need you to understand that I'm hurt and you did something wrong. Like how can we say that this is a you problem? 100% it's a you problem. There's no way that, it's going to be okay to say it, because the thing that is being said is hard. And the thing that's hard is because of what you did. It's because you did something rotten that the thing I have to say isn't appropriate. But then we're kind of displacing. It's ego games. Like there's something here where it's ego games, and somebody really can't get around their ego. And I think it's really, really sad, because I think for some of you, it's the parent. I think it's the parent, somebody who really should be able to demonstrate healthiness and like demonstrate skills. And I think it's the kid who's actually having to come through and lead from the bottom. But I just think because they don't have authority, that this parent is really so head and butt. Like they don't, it's weird because I feel like they do the human thing. Like, oh, I'm just being a human. You're just being a human whenever it suits them. But then it's like, well, I'm the parent, so I don't ever have to listen to you. You don't ever have anything to teach me. Like whenever it suits them, when I think there's actually a kid here who is kind of more advanced, but there's definitely karma to be worked through, and there's just defensive listening, basically. And that the guides are saying, like, we're not trying to hurt you, we're trying to help you, but they're trying to help you through a process whereby somebody makes you aware of something, and then the first thing that you take is the self-awareness process. It is not up to this person to outline everything that's wrong. It's up for you to hear that there's a problem, and then for you to find out what's underpinning that. This person shouldn't be working on their own to do that. And if you can't do it, then hire somebody to help you, or ask some friends to be honest with you, but they probably don't know you in that regard. And if you're being honest, you probably never showed that side of yourself, or you always have an excuse, but it's like the child's living it without the filter kind of thing. Okay. So I'm going to leave that there. That's pile number 1. So I'm going to throw this back up here. We just finished pile number 1, which is the mother energy. And, we're moving on to the vow. They got a settlement of $30,000 and left me out entirely. Yeah, I knew there was something weird with money. That's why it's called the power dynamic. Everything to win an argument and to be right. There is no healing then. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Insisting someone is a problem because they are trying to address the real problem. Yeah. And that's just a deflection technique. And then they add a layer of complexity to the situation, because it's like, well, now we have to talk about how you're a problem before we can start talking about the problem. It's kind of entropy setting in too, because I've noticed this with our democracy, where it's like we have to talk about the most pointless stuff, so we can't actually talk about the stuff that matters. And so everything kind of gets like bogged down. So you can't actually use like the time and the systems to actually solve the problems that you would hope, society can be solving. We have to instead talk about random shit, And it just feels like a control thing. It's about controlling the conversation. It's about, in order to avoid like having an outcome that you don't want, kind of a thing. This was great, Jess. I'm glad to hear it, because I feel like that one came out a little bit spotty. So if it didn't make any sense, I know it took me a second to get rolling on that one, but I think that's kind of part of the message whenever that happens anyway. Okay. Every conversation becomes circular and nothing is productive. It's exhausting. Exactly. Exactly, Jess. Okay, so we'll just bunny butt our way right to pile number 2. We're gonna clear this energy with a little bunny butt. We lost the purpose of debate, and we lost the skill of debate too, because it just becomes a bunch of these like tricks and logical fallacies, and then people are like, "See, I won." It's like the truth should win. The truth should win. You should have your sides, but like both sides should be loyal to the truth and prioritize the truth above all. Because without that, then like nobody really wins. Like even if you technically win the debate, it's all so ego. Okay, anyways. Okay, pile number 2. I'm just going to put some compassion here. Okay, so pile number 2. What message did you miss from your guides? I just heard that Chris Brown song. She got that lovey-dovey, that kiss. In her mind, she fantasized about getting with me. They hating on me. They wanna diss. Sorry, I have no idea why I'm hearing that song. Okay, is this the... No, I want to get a different... Okay, wait a second. It's kind of trickling through here. Okay, so for pile number 2, Spirit, what message? Okay, so Spirit guides for pile number 2 is people. What of your messages did they miss? Oh my gosh. Okay, so this definitely has to do with like some type of soulmate connection. Like I keep trying to kind of follow this thread, but we do have the vow energy here, and then we have the Lover's card that just like plopped down here like on the bottom. I'm not going to look at the rest of that because it's like a substantial amount. I feel like there was some type of gossip that came through, and I feel like something was flipped in somebody's mind. Something here was like meant to be a wake-up call for somebody. I don't know what it was, but there was something here was meant to be a wake-up call for somebody. And I'm getting that they like, I'm hearing like confusion, illusion, lift. They're trying to like, okay, something happened, and it was like they were trying to lift some type of like confusion that you had about a certain person and their actions, a certain place, a certain time, a certain event. There was a confusion here. It's like a thick fog. So I feel like there was something here where like you didn't have the right perspective on something, and they brought through like a message or something, or they had you see something. It was supposed to like lift this up, but I feel like you got something in the wrong place maybe. Or this could be somebody else, because energies can always be flipped in tarot. But I feel like you confused, I want to say 2 people. Like you got them in the wrong category. It's like, and that could be yourself and another person, where you were thinking that, wait, I was like, I played like this role, or I was the one in this position. But then you realize that you had yourself and somebody else flipped. Or it could be 2 people that you're dealing with, where you thought like one person was one thing and this other person was another thing, but actually you got them flipped. And I kind of feel like it might be soulmate versus karmic or something here. This also could be a person that you were dealing with that like had you and another person like entirely flipped into some type of different category. But the reason is because of that kind of defensive thing that I was talking about in pile number 1. It's not like the same. I'm not really getting an overlap there, although take that however it resonates. But I'm just getting that there was some type of like defensiveness, where if you had these 2 people in the right role, like yourself and another person, if you'd flipped that, or these 2 people, if you'd had somebody here in the right role, it would have been a major wake-up call. And that was the point of it. Something was trying to come through. It was meant to be a big wake-up call, but then the mind somehow twisted it, and you put yourself in somebody else's shoes and them in your shoes. Or, and it feels like maybe there was some projection or something here. Or again, like you did that with 2 of these people. Say like you have 2 friends and you guys were all in like a tiff or something, and you sided with one of your friend where you're like, that person's being my friend because they're, I don't know, going along with everything that I'm saying. That person's not being my friend. They're being my enemy. But actually it was the other way around. But there was something where like, if you had looked at it that way, it maybe would have done something. It would have like it was going to be a wake up call, some type of wake up call here. Something about like the past, something about a friend. I said friend, I used a friend example. So this might have to do with like friends, something here in the past. And it was meant to, with the sun, this is sun and Scorpio energy for me, which can come through in a lot of different ways. But I always think about that bright light of the sun going into, you know, that 8th house, the darkest house of the chart, the scary, spooky house of trauma and everything. So there was something here in the past that maybe something to do with a friend, or maybe something to do with like somebody interacting with a friend, or I don't know, or something with a child. I don't know. And it was meant to like highlight like a fear, a phobia, something that was like stuffed into a shadow. It was meant to be a wake up call here in order to like heal. And maybe it was going to lead you on a path of like making amends with somebody and actually like realizing that, wait a second, I did something wrong here and I have to kind of approach somebody in order to apologize, or, recognizing something about a group. Something about like being content to be like a part of a group, you know, like a part of a friend group or something. Like, well, I'm not supposed to be in a romantic relationship with this person. They're supposed to be with somebody else. Like I was misreading the signs and symbols because something here, and I'm really just supposed to be a part of like a friend group, or I'm here to be, you know, it could be something like that. So let me just see. Look, the Lovers card is coming out. There. I feel like there was some type of choice. This feels very social. And I think for a lot of you, this does have to do with like a romantic situation. Maybe like, I don't know. It could even have something to do with like friends to relationship, you know, if I go this way or that way. But there's something to do with a choice, but it feels like a very social choice because it doesn't have to be romantic or schmegul. This really could be like who to be friends with or who to talk with or who to be close with or something like that. Because there is somebody here who's kind of is a karmic from the past. And they do seem kind of very sweet, and maybe it's, something here seemed like a wish fulfillment with your eyes shut. I just heard eyes wide shut. And now like that was, I feel like something here was like hidden or buried for like quite some time. And then like now you're wanting to go back and like beg somebody here for like forgiveness or for there to be peace in the situation. But there's been like a long time where like all the moons are black. All the leaves are brown and the moons are black and the moons are black. But what I mean is like there was no light shown in like the darkest of the night, you know? Like if you're trying to find your way through the dark, you need the light of the moon. But the moon wasn't there. So it's like somebody here could have been going through a dark night of the soul. They needed some type of clarity, but then you didn't give it because you thought that they were bad or I don't know. And so something's like congealed. Okay, so for pile number 2, like for their spirit guides, what message did they miss? To be alone. That's another message of like, just be alone, be in hermit mode, go within. Okay, I feel like tear energy. Maybe this group needed to cry even, and you were trying to like stuff it down, or maybe even by being social and like hanging out with a bunch of friends instead of just like being alone and crying and like, you know, processing through something, because processing through the emotion means that like the clarity can kind of settle back in, where you can actually look at something. What message, Spirit? What message did pile number 2 miss? Okay, Ace of Swords. Look, the Hermit. The truth is within. Something about like the truth is within. Oh my gosh. Okay. I feel like this group saw something here. Like, see the devil energy? Saw the devil energy. And it could be like 4 of Pentacles. Somebody here could have been struggling financially. And so then they saw something here. And because they didn't cry and like process through their emotions, I feel like something here, they saw something that kind of wasn't there. Because they were seeing somebody standing in their power. Like, I think somebody was like catastrophizing. And I think their mind, like, I don't know, like, oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm getting that somebody here was like going through a hard time. They were feeling not secure in themselves. And I think they were maybe having some money troubles. And life felt like this 10 of Wands here. It was just like a grind. They felt like they were carrying everything uphill. And they were like, okay, you can make it, you can make it, you can make it. And then all of a sudden, they see this kind of this devil card energy. And I think they saw 2 people together interacting in a certain way. And they thought that it was like something here. And the reason they thought that is because of the comparison between themselves and like this other person, or the perceived. I think this person was interested in this person romantically, And this person seemed like they were so confident and that they were like doing so much better. And so I think they thought that this devil energy, whatever it was that they saw, was going to end up with this, like somebody here being like this, like, oh, haha, like, you know, look at me and my new boo or whatever. And then that they thought that that was like the truth, but it was really coming from this poisoned river energy, which means that was a projection of the mind, like coming from a poisoned well, poisoned emotions. Like, I think it comes from self-hate a little bit here. And that's what the guides were trying to focus on, is the river. They were trying to unearth the river. I don't think the guides, like whatever the river is representing, because I think it's representing something like poisonous about like a money situation and an emotional situation. I actually think it's both here. And I don't even think they're necessarily related. I think that there definitely could be some overlap here, but I think that there's some type of like emotional issue, like a self-hatred, kind of not feeling on shaky ground kind of a thing. Or feeling on shaky ground. And I don't think your guides put that there. I think that's a part of your being, you know, like your auric field. You're like, that's a part of like your system. Your guides are trying to help you navigate through like your life and your system here. And if this isn't you, then this is somebody here that you were dealing with. And if this is flipped, if the energies are flipped, you would have been like, what the heck? Like, what the heck? Like, because I don't know. I feel like you were like, I was just talking to my friend, because it was 6 of Cups, whatever it is. It's actually like very, innocent, you know, like whatever it was. But the devil card, always for me, it brings up something to do with like snap decisions, snap judgment, snap relief, versus like at the expense of some type of longer term benefit or like stability. And so I think somebody here needed to kind of like ask themselves the hard questions, like, or have a conversation with somebody else, but instead they may have done something rash based on like a false premise, if that makes sense, when they should have kind of gone inwards and processed something to do with this like poison emotional. I think it's self-hate, to be honest. I think it's like, I'm not good enough, I'm struggling, so I'll always be struggling, you know, kind of a thing. And then it caused a ripple effect where then somebody else then felt the burden, felt responsible. I think something here caused somebody else to feel responsible or to take on too much responsibility. There's also something about the hips. Like, I feel like somebody here, like, who was on the receiving end of this, there's something about their hips. Like, maybe they have hip problems or something. I don't know. Okay. I just heard saddlebags, like, you know, where it's like, you're the donkey that's like trying to climb up the hill, and then you have to carry everybody else's stuff now too. Okay. So what is the message that you missed from your guides? I feel for some of you, like this group knows it. They know that they missed this message from their guides, and they are definitely they're like scrambling to try to fix this or how to resolve this. But a lot of time has gone by. Like there's now like extra variables. It has to do with blame. Something here has to do with social manipulation and blame, and like somebody here having like a choice, but this feels like I think the choice had to do with either blaming somebody else, like possibly jumping on a bandwagon, or being confused, like not actually having the answers. And it had to do with jumping on a bandwagon and blaming somebody when it really wasn't their fault, and you didn't have like the full pieces of information. But I feel like you would have known that. Like you would have known that you just had like a bit of information, versus being confused and considering other options. But I mean like in terms of the narrative, in terms of like what could have been going on there. Like, well, it could have been this, you know, they might not have meant anything by what they said. It could have been that, like, you know, something to do with that. Yeah, I feel like somebody tanked something here. There was like competition. This is Venus and Mars energy, which is competition. And it could have ruined a relationship with somebody that's like a Venus energy, even if this is a man. This is like a very lovely person. This is like very much a soulmate person, somebody fair, somebody balanced. Look, the Emperor just came out too, like a soulmate kind of relationship. Okay, so a lot of major arcana cards are coming out. What message did you miss from your guides? Okay, I feel like before something happened here, I feel like there was a message that was like to cut somebody out of your life. I think they were trying to send you a message or to like cut away from a group. There was some type of like, it's either a group or a person. It just feels like a karmic energy. Somebody who was maybe trying to pull you apart from somebody else. And I feel like there was a strong intuition to cut away from this person because they were like maneuvering. It has Pluto energy. So there was a secret relationship that you had with somebody, and either they were giving you money or you guys were sleeping together, or it was based on some type of strategy. And I feel like Spirit was saying like, this person is no good. You got to cut this person off. Like, you got to trust me. I got a plan here. Yeah, it's somebody here needed to be like blocked in no uncertain terms to go after, like, so that you could heal. And it's either, it could be a single person or it could be like an entire group of people. But I feel like, you know, so that you could heal, like something here needed to be like cut away from so that you could heal and actually move towards like some new beginning that your guides had. And tell me about this new beginning they're moving you towards. So your guides were very much navigating you. Okay, so there was a certain time in your life that you were very, very vulnerable. And you were vulnerable because of this like poisoned water river energy, which had something to do with money. So again, it could have been a time in your life where you were really struggling with money. And you were also struggling with like, because you wanted to make some type of progress. You wanted to be stable, or maybe you wanted to like be an entrepreneur or like make your own money. So there was a lot of like kind of toxicity in your emotions about that. Not because you didn't think that you could never do it. I do feel there's a touch of the fixed mindset here rather than like a process-oriented mindset of feeling like, you know, you're born a street rat, you'll die a street rat, and only your fleas will mourn you. You know, that kind of energy. So, but there was something like toxic in the emotions. I think it was like self-hatred just because of like the position that you were born into or something. And so that was like a very vulnerable time. And your spirit guides were trying to help you navigate through that, deal with the emotions. But then like, I'm seeing you rise up out of this river energy like the horse, you know, like actually like start stepping up and like kind of navigating you back onto land, back onto some type of like solid ground. They were trying to very much help like steer and navigate you during this time. So I think that your emotions, or no, your intuition was really coming through. But I actually think that your intuition, this is a group that very much needs to hear that feelings are not facts and that your intuition is in fact a separate thing from your emotions. Sometimes your intuition can work through your emotions, but if your emotions are not in a healthy place, then that can actually be very misleading. And what I mean by feelings are not facts is that like when you look at something, because I feel like this group looked and saw something and you felt something like toxic, but I think it was the externalization of like your own self-hatred that wrote some type of something on top of whatever you were seeing that actually wasn't the truth. It wasn't the whole truth, nothing but it wasn't what you thought. I think it was like an innocent kind of thing that you were seeing. And that really threw you off, but really you had something else, like your intuition. I think your intuition was telling you to cut away from some type of plutonic energy, some type of control. But this to me, it's like coming through as that self-hatred, that depression. But there is that connects into a certain person that you were either sleeping with or taking money from, or you were up close to that person because you were trying to get money from that person. So Spirit was saying, cut away. That's not where we want you. At least like not right now. Cut away and like be done with it and kind of go on your own and like fully block that out and move away from that because you're like on a defensive energy and it's going to end in some type of like maybe fight, but it's going to give rise to some type of karmic fight here. Yeah. So something about like navigating. So this is a group where I feel like your guides would really be encouraging you to get in touch with your intuition. Like, so I also, because again, like me saying that intuition and feelings, those are two different things. And a lot of people's intuition does work through their feelings. And it can, like, it just depends on, you know, if their intuition is guiding through something that they don't have a bunch of toxic emotions around, then that's probably a very helpful space. But, you know, how do I describe this? It's kind of like, okay, so I want to give the example of me and my diet because I've always tried to like eat somewhat healthy, but I have like particular dietary restrictions where it's like certain foods that are perfectly healthy, my body has like a reaction to, so it's not healthy for me. So I can't just do what everybody online says is healthy. I have to know my body specifically. And that's been a big lesson for me, not just like in this lifetime, but putting like, that is a broader lesson of like, you have to make sure just because it works for even the majority of other people, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work for you. Just because something works for the majority of other people doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. So there's some way that your intuition works, at least at this juncture, or it has to for this like particular moment in time. And this learning this is something that's leveling you up in an exponential kind of way. Because you're not just learning like about something in the moment, you're learning like how to shift gears. Like if you're driving in the car and you're like, I can't drive down the highway in second gear. I have to learn how and when it's appropriate to shift to third gear and then fourth gear and then fifth gear, right? So like you're learning something like that where it's a bigger lesson that's going to help you navigate in all kinds of terrain kind of a thing. So yeah, you missed a message from your guides, but there's a bigger thing that they feel like you missed, and it's how your particular intuition works, or how to get in touch with your particular intuition. Okay, so also I'm getting this image of, I went on this canoe trip this one time. It was horrendous, and we don't need to get into the story of that, except for just know that I drove a long way to get there, and then got out. The river was like fine at first, but then it was like pretty dried up. So like, yeah, we would be able to kind of float for a while in the boat, right? And you're supposed to float down a river. But the time and place that I was going down that river, it was dry. So then we would have to get out of the canoe a lot. And we would have to drag it over the rocks to get to the next layer of river. Well, you can sit in your brain and say, well, you're supposed to float down a river, and you are, but there needs to be water in the river for you to be able to float down it. And if you can't float down it, if I'm just going to sit on the rocks and like try to paddle my way to the next section where there's water, that's going to be frustrating, and it's also not the best way to do it. So I have to navigate my own situation. I have to be working with my own tools to say, I got to pick it up now and I got to go walk it to the river kind of thing. So there's a bigger thing about how to work with your intuition, and not to be scared to say like, okay, this is working for everybody else. Like you don't have to demonize things that work for other people, but just recognizing like, oh, this isn't working for me. My intuition doesn't work through me in particular. A lot of my intuition will come through writing, either things that I write down or things that I see, like read with my eyes. There's some weird connection there with like reading and words. And it doesn't always come through like with my feelings, but a lot of readers, like they have like certain feelings and stuff. So it's a matter of like learning how your own intuition, because your intuition was screaming at you to cut off some type of connection. And it had something to do with kind of maybe suckling at the teat, like trying to get like power, trying to get like crumbs off of a situation. And they were like, you don't need that. Throw that out. It's poisoning the well. Maybe between you and another person, but it's like, it's poisoning the well of like, I don't know, because it was like there's something here where it's like you were trying to, it's Pluto energy. I think that you could have been trying to, even if this was subconscious, and if you were in kind of, I'm seeing Aladdin, I keep seeing Aladdin in my mind, like riff raff, street rat, I don't buy that. So you were in your Pluto energy trying to strategize, maybe around a King of Swords. I don't think it was going to work, to be honest, because the King of Swords is seeing the Pluto energy and not really liking it, like sees that there's some type of strategy or sees that there's something hidden. And that's what's causing like a blockage. But it's like, you could have, I don't know. There was a sneaking around or you had like some type of hidden agenda, and your intuition was like, don't mess with that. Go find your path, like in life, merge with your path. And then you don't have to do this sneaking around kind of stuff. And so there was some moment in time where they were like, cut this off. And then they were trying to merge you with a different situation. But remember I was saying at the beginning where you got these two people in like different categories, and it could be because one was keeping you on the hook for something. You thought they were giving to you, but they were keeping you sick at the same time, because you were never getting at like, or that's what your guides are trying to teach you. They were never getting at that root cause of like learning how to navigate your own boat kind of a thing. But maybe they paid your bills. See what I'm saying? So that person became the savior in your mind because they're paying your bills, but it's like, you're still stuck in this dependent state where there was something here where you were trying to go towards. And I think that there was kind of some fear there and like some self-hatred, and there needed to be some type of like transformation. And I think it had to do with, it's a 6 of Cups. So it's something to do with like childhood. Maybe this was like at the precipice of like, I'm not a girl, not yet a woman. It's like, well, I'm not a child anymore. And I'm like learning how to be on my own. All I need is time, a moment that's mine. That's that hermit energy while I'm in between. I just need a moment that's mine. It feels like you were maybe in the in-between. And your intuition was like really trying to get through, but it was threatening because there needed to be a big change here. there needed to be a big transformation. But I feel like something here, and it may have come through a friend or even like multiple friends. There could have been some type of drama that went on in a friend group, because I'm kind of seeing the Six of Cups, like, you know, that meme where it's that guy that's like, he's got the bulletin board behind him with all the red strings and he's like looking at you really intense, like, you following this? Like, you know, so there's something here with like the different friends where it's like, maybe you were sleeping with a friend, maybe somebody was your friend and they brought you some type of secret information. There's that Pluto energy, right? And that was wrong, because they were actually they were Pluto to you. So there's some type of like layer back where it's like you were in a kind of Pluto energy where you were strategizing around, but then there was a friend here that really wanted something from you. And they, I think, wanted to end, like close some type of door that was ultimately your door to freedom or liberation or some new way of being that your guys were really trying to push you down. It's the sun energy. But in order to do it, it's like you had to move that sun energy into the 8th house and be like, ugh, like, you know, to really kind of see maybe who you were hanging out with, maybe who you were sleeping with, maybe, you know, the habits that you were using to try and get fed in some type of way that were really essentially beneath you. And it's Pluto. It's like you were trying to kind of sneak around, but there's a King of Swords here who can really see it and doesn't like it. And they, I think, rejected you, but really more they rejected the tactics. And they were like, found it disrespectful, you know, kind of a thing where they're like, I am offended that you think I can't see what you're doing. You need to have a direct conversation with me and you need to ask for what you want, you know, or you need to, if you want a job here, you need to, you know, taking it, like, I'm not just going to give this to you because I'm your uncle, you know, or something. It's like, you need to take an interest in whatever we do here, you know, and like go get the certification like everybody else or something. There is somebody here that can kind of see that. But I feel like, again, maybe that was kind of misread because of the emotions that were involved in the situation. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's leaving something here behind that was maybe a source of, like, it feels like there's a lot of money here, like a lot of security or something. And like you had to leave that behind. Again, I'm seeing the Aladdin thing, but that's more of a Jasmine move, right? Where she like had the palace, but she was like sick of it. Okay. Anything else? Yeah. I feel like something got off track here at a key crossroads, like a key moment in time where your guides were trying to help you navigate it, but they needed you to question like your inner landscape and what it is that you were seeing. And is that really real? And I think for some of you, they needed you to have a conversation with a friend. You needed to cut something off with either one friend or an entire friend group that was like gnarly. But then again, I think that from that moment on, from this moment, as long as I live, I will love you. I promise you this. There's nothing I wouldn't give from this moment on. That's like a love song from Shania Twain. It's like, I don't know. It feels like maybe that was like something that was available or like some type of path or like for you to be with somebody or for somebody to be with you. But so after that happened, and I feel like like it just feels like a pile up kind of energy. It feels like an entrenching energy, really. Somebody here had to go independent from you. And I feel like this was somebody you were supposed to go on the path with in some way, whether in friendship or romance or work life. There was some type of transformation in your relationship, with that being the 6 of Cups. Like, I feel like you guys were friends or something, and there was meant to be a transformation where you guys were meant to work together, or you were meant to be romantic partners or something. But this got all fucked up. And so this person had to go independent, and they had to like manifest their own life, like kind of separate. And I feel like, again, you kind of saw that and felt salty. And like, so you were still kind of stuck in the middle here of like, do I look at this person as being, this is a very exalted energy for me, the 3 of Wands. It's Sun in Aries. That's an exalted energy. The Sun loves to be in Aries. That's somebody who knows who they are. That's somebody who's not afraid to be independent. Because I feel like there's a resistance to viewing a certain person in that energy, because I feel like I think for a lot of you, this is an entire group of people that is just gnarly, fucked up, nasty, and they needed to go. But I feel like there's some dependence on that group for, I don't know, like money, but it feels like some kind of stability or security. Even like, you know, you could always go sleep on those people's couches. You know that they don't judge you, but this feels more like a covert contract. It's like, I know you're fucked up. You know, I'm fucked up. I'm trying not to be fucked up, but I don't say it out loud to you or to anybody else in this group because I know it'll trigger this group. Like crabs in a bucket. I know that you'll try to kind of pull me back down. But I need to know that when I mess up, like it kind of feels like a judgment-free zone over here, like with these people, where it's like you kind of know some of the stuff that they partake in or have done or engaged in. And so it's kind of like if they began to have a problem with you, whatever you did that you needed help, you could be like, I know that you're not passing judgment on me. I know that you're not over there throwing rocks at me, living in that glass house. I know that's not what's happening right now. Like, there's something like that. And so it felt safer, kind of a thing. But it just feels like there was a group or a person, but I think it's definitely just a group and like a thing. It needed to be cut off and cut away from. It's very, very hard if you're struggling to do that. And again, I can see why, because, it's a dependence. It's a kind of like, I don't feel like I have to be perfect or something, to get support over here from this group of people. But when you're struggling with that, it's very, very hard to look at a person who is like, nah, and like actually did it. And this is like a soulmate, I feel like here. It's very, very hard to look at the reality of that person, that they are actually very strong, that they are willing to be independent, that they were supposed to have a person with them and they didn't have that person and they still stood up on their own and they manifested a different path for themselves. That is impressive as hell. But it's really actually hard to give this person their flowers when you're struggling here to do the same thing. And so instead it's easier to kind of say like that person's selfish or, like to point the finger at this person. They have some type of higher ground by the way that they earned, by the way that they worked for, by the way that they deserved. And instead to be like, it's unjust that that person has some type of higher ground. I also feel like there's a higher ground here in this person's morality. Like this person stuck by their guns, like they stuck by their virtues, they stuck by their principles. And I think there's a bit like, because there's this other group that's entirely bonded on that, somehow there's like a bonding ritual around being terrible. Like, it's not mean. It's like doing some very underhand things. This is like having affairs. This is like, like it's like egged on here. Or like, I think it's super cool that you stole money out of the cash register before you left work the other day. Like encourages, like, it feels like stuff like that, where it's not just a matter of being mean, it's a matter of doing like, smiling in people's faces, but then like doing something else. And then like being brazen enough to kind of talk about it to your friends as though like it's a thing to be proud of kind of thing. Like it feels like that kind of energy. And so it's like, oh, well, you just think that you're up on your high horse as if it didn't cost this person something or a lot of somethings, or like a group of 7 to 10 people who like are shitting on them energetically, which they can feel, by the way. And how like this is really, really hard to be on the receiving end of all that negativity and still do this. No, that's like getting their flowers. So I feel like there's a message that you missed about like, you're supposed to be this. This is what you're capable of. I think you saw another person rise up. That's why you were partnered with them, or you're meant to be. In whatever way, this relationship was supposed to change. It was supposed to like start off as friendship, and it was supposed to transform where you guys were supposed to be business partners, or you guys were supposed to be romantic partners or something here. And couldn't do it because of like the emotional stuff. And so the message that you missed had to do with intuition and like blocking your intuition because you felt bad. But I feel like the reason that you felt bad here was because of toxic shame, because you were going through a hard time. But this person I'm getting was your friend. So there may have been like an intuition here to just like, again, the sun in the 8th house, shine that light here for this person and say like, here's what I'm struggling with behind the scenes. It could be that you were going through a really dark time too. Again, with this group of people around, like God only knows, like, the things that could have been happening around you. Because again, that 8th house is the house of like abuse, of trauma, of, yeah. And so it's like, hey, I got wrapped up in a bad crowd that has done some bad things. This is like the state of things, because this person is like your friend, and I actually think that they would have understood and like helped you out. But this isn't the kind of same assistance that this group would have given you, where it's like there's a covert agreement that you keep being fucked up and keep doing bad things in order for them to keep. That's the covert agreement. Stay in the cycle. But this person would have helped you transform out of the cycle. They actually would have. But I don't think that. And I think for a lot of you, this might be flipped here, like where you were maybe the friend, but yeah. I don't know. And I do feel there's a vow here. Like some type of soul contract or something here. Yeah, there's some type of like inner strength. Okay, for some of you, a message that you missed is that the strength comes from the feminine. And the feminine here is like actually the protectors in this situation. Like there's something here. Okay, I'm just gonna say this. You guys know, you guys already probably know my politics and everything, and I try to kind of steer away from it. But this is just something that I've been kind of wading through for myself. But there has been that research study that just came out about people who lean more conservative, and the way that their empathy kind of comes through is that they don't just empathize, with people. Like just like the general human experience. A lot of times they demonize people from being born poor and from having like certain, things that were really out of their control, kind of a thing. And they really only have empathy when it like kind of starts to affect them. And I feel like there's a group of people kind of like that, but I'm associating it more with masculine energy that's kind of in a Cancerian. It's like Mars energy when it's in Cancer is debilitated and they kind of shift around problems. So I think there's a group here that acts like a protector, or somebody here feels like men, or again, like homeboy down home kind of energy. And they seem strong. If you've ever been around, listen, I am just owning this. Okay. I come from podunk nowhere. And I come from the middle of like the country. So I was around all of this. I know this inside and out. So it seems like they're very, very strong. And it seems like they come in with this protector kind of attitude, but actually they're submissive, and they're submissive usually to some type of patriarchy, cult, Christianity, a lot of times where I'm from, white nationalist Christianity, some type of like older white, like male, there's a subservience there, and they take orders. Like it's not really an independence of thought or mind, but they'll flare up and it'll make you think that those people are actually protective. But then when you have like certain experiences, if it goes against, like this will be your own dad, ask me how I know. This will be your own grandpa, ask me how I know. Right? That actually you think do love you like your entire life, but then they will just, they stand, like something will happen to you, and then all that bravado, they do nothing. They turn on you, they side up against you, they ignore your humanity. It's like that kind of thing. And like that's the kind of people that I feel like either you or like your person was like involved with. It on the surface it seems like that they're protectors, but actually it's like groupthink, and it's like very follower, and it's very like emotional, because it's not adding up, and there's like a disconnect between the things they say that they stand for and then the things that they actually stand for. Like they'll switch it based on like whoever it is that they're kind of following at the time. So what the message that you miss is that there's something here where it's like the feminine are actually the protectors. It is that kind of mothering energy where it's like, I love, therefore I protect. Like I know, how many women do you know that usually are the ones that'll stick up for you? They're the smallest one in the room. They have the least social power. But when they see that you are being like messed with, it's always usually a woman that will stand up, and then what? She gets backhanded, or she gets like blacklisted or something. This is the Midwest in America, in case you've never been. That's the thing that goes on beneath the surface. That's the dynamic. And forgive me if I don't want to go back. But like there's the feminine energy here, the Venus energy that is the protector. You can have men that are Venus dominant, by the way, but it's that Venus energy of like love, fairness, relationships, because they believe in something and they care for you. And maybe that person seems small, but like if they see something that's like fucked up, they're the ones that'll actually like jump to it. Like there's something here very like that's not seen clearly. That was the message. The message was, that the protection isn't coming from where you think it's coming from, kind of a thing. Okay. Feminine. I wish I could talk to somebody about this. Yeah. Okay. So, and I know that not everybody can relate to like my background. That's the way that I know it is for me. And I know it's the same for like a lot of people where you come from, where like the culture that is so like entrenched. It's really like a kind of a good old boys club. I'm from Missouri. I live there still. Yes, my father, almost every man in my life. Yes, right? Okay. I know some good men in Missouri, but there's a culture for sure. Okay. Yeah, it was meant to like go away and clear the air. The last thing that I'll leave you with, especially if this is a man that I'm picking up on, like there was a quote that I think about from time to time where it was like, this woman was like, I am tired of passive men. You say you love us, you form relationships with us, but I don't understand why you're not moved to action by our grape and humiliation. Like it's enough. of you being silent. It's enough of you being passive. It's enough of you voting against basic human rights. The answer is no. Like, it's enough. So I feel like there's a loyalty thing here. There's something here like with intuition, but the loyalty, again, it comes from this like weird poisoned emotional space where it's like, be loyal to principles. That's what I think it is. And it's that cult of personality kind of thing where like you're loyal to a person that you allow to interpret the book that you might use to like guide your life. That's very different than being loyal to your principles and really trying to figure out whether or not you post up or not, like on a certain issue. And I feel like within this kind of group here, you post up, you post up against like the leader or like the groupthink, and that's the worst thing that you could possibly do. You know, whereas like in a healthier group, it's like, you know that you're like on the same page with a lot of these people because you join with life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And you might disagree on how to get there sometimes, but you genuinely know that like a lot of these people, they're by their actions and like their hypocrisy, like it's all kind of in the same place kind of a thing. And so even if you have like these disagreements, you know that like they're not fucked up at their core kind of a thing. And that it's not this weird covert contract, that there's a lot that's unspoken. And so you have to be in your Pluto energy to be in your survivorship and to gain any like level of power. Like it's not a game kind of thing. So, okay. They only stand up 2 women. Yeah. Nice to know that it's everywhere and it's not just me. Maybe a principality. I know it's kind of scary to know that it's everywhere. Okay. Anything else? But I feel like now's the time where it's like, people are like kind of rising up. That's the other thing. I want to keep going on. I have this one thought that like I keep coming back to as well, but it's not the time or the place. It's not the time or the place. Anything else? Yeah, I think that somebody here is like having an aha moment where they're realizing that like, yeah, they like ganged up on somebody here, or they were blaming somebody, and then like they were all kind of like confused and yeah. Okay. Gratitude for your offering. Yay. Okay. Learn and trust that you aren't the problem because you're the one trying to address the real problem. Yes. Basically, I feel like somebody left a toxic environment and like it was somebody else has the ability for independent thought and like to turn away from logical fallacies and things like that, but isn't quite doing it. So, and it's because of like their loyalty to a group, but that loyalty is built on need. And I don't think that they quite recognize that people benefit when they're needy. I think that there may be a betrayal going on in this group, or there will be, because they're useful when they're needy, when they don't actually have power. So they get power based on like their proximity to the real power that allows them enough power, social power, what, you know, otherwise, to navigate until it's inconvenient. And then they get screwed like everybody else kind of a thing. Okay. So that was pile number 2. I hope that that made sense. Yeah. Agree with all of this. That's the South as well. Yeah. There was no protection from a friend. Yeah. All right. Compassion. Compassion, compassion, compassion. How do we find our way back to each other? You know? I wonder that a lot. Yeah. No, I have a lot to say. I really want to start another channel, to be honest. I just feel like very overwhelmed because I feel like so overwhelmed and I just want to like process a lot of the things that I'm thinking. And sometimes I think that that might be helpful, even just like cathartic, but then sometimes I think that it wouldn't be helpful and that everybody is feeling the same thing and everybody has opinions and everybody just wants to like, you know, kind of like vent or like get off steam or I don't know. I don't know. But there are certain things, because I think, let me just say this, because I feel like we all agree on like the things that we want. I think that we disagree on how to get there. And I think that that's a real problem. Be yourself. Stand up for what you truly believe. Figure out what you truly believe. Anyone who has a problem with you thinking of yourself probably shouldn't be in your life. So true. Okay, so I'm just going to take a second here and then we'll move to pile number 3. number 3. Did you guys hear Luna? Okay, so for pile number 3, Spirit, what messages from their guides did they miss? Tell me why this card in this deck makes me laugh like every time. It's such a mood. Emily, thank you so much for the super chat. Happens even in progressive parts of the Pacific Northwest. I experience this personally. Yeah. I think it really just stems from like patriarchy and white supremacy. And it sucks because I feel like you can't say that. Like you're not allowed to say that without people just like rolling their eyes and stuffing you into a category. But like, I don't know, the more that I look at the world, the more that I think it's just this hierarchy of power that has been like created over time. Anyways, okay, I'm going to start over pile number 3 here. Okay. I'm here, 13. Okay, so, all right, pile number 3, Spirit. For pile number 3, what message from their guides did pile number 3 miss here, Spirit? Message from their guides. Pile number 3 miss. Message from their guides. Sorry if you can hear me like with the cards on the table. Okay, 5 of Pentacles, 10 of Cups, I feel like this is the same energy from pile number 2. I'm going to get a different deck here. Alex, I keep changing I keep restarting over pile number 3 so that it's easy for you to find. Just so that you know, I struggled for the first couple of minutes. It's because I didn't take enough time, I think, like in between to just really rest. Because I always feel like a certain way when I talk about politics. Okay. So, pile number 3, pile number 3. All right, new energy, Spirit, for pile number 3. New energy. The Bayou, thank you so much for the super chat. Rabbits have been in my dreams lately. One didn't have a tail and I thought of bunny butt. Oh my gosh. What if bunny butt is the key to you lucid dreaming? You like become awake in your dream because you're like, that doesn't have a butt. Okay. Okay, so for pile number 3, Spirit, what is the message that they missed from their guides? What is the message that they missed from their guides? New energy here for pile number 3. New energy. Message that they missed from their guides. Okay, so we have the Ace of Swords in reverse, and this has writing on it. It says confusion, brutality, chaos, inner clarity, rethinking an idea, clouded judgment. Clouded judgment is really standing out to me there. Okay, Knight of Wands. Okay, some type of passion energy. There was a clouded judgment around some type of passion energy. It had to do with some type of opportunity and familiarity. Clouded judgment, some type of passion energy, some type of opportunity that presented itself, and familiarity. There's confusion here. Somebody here was like very action oriented and like very driven to succeed. And I feel like there was some type of like recklessness, but I feel like hindsight is 20/20 with this. And there's like a connection here. It may have to do with some type of system. Like seeing the way that some type of system works here. Yeah, okay, so somebody here was like overly optimistic about something. And they had like some type of decision. I feel like they were like in their head. But whatever they were in their head about, it came through as like the Page of Swords. And then kind of the Knight of Swords. But it's mostly the Page of Swords, which is kind of like this clouded energy. There was like a new idea or there was a new way of thinking. And somebody who was like kind of clouded about it. It felt like a new opportunity. But it had something to do with like kind of passion. I don't know. And maybe it's because somebody felt like I might as well be reckless here and like go in this direction because it can't, like something here cannot get worse. Or yeah, it's like I can only go up from here. Recovery, regeneration. So somebody here was like trying to regenerate. And they thought, I think that they were emotionally balanced, or that somebody that they moved towards was emotionally balanced. But there could have been a lot of partying involved, or just like some type of overindulgence. And again, like I'm hearing like clouded judgment. So there was a message here around like clouded judgment. And I think it's because somebody here felt like, well, it can't get any worse. You know, like I have to regenerate myself. Like I have to be ambitious, you know, in regards of something here. And so what was the message that you were trying to get through? Pile number 3, spirit guides. What is the message that you were trying to get through? Oh, look, there's the 10 of cups I just saw. So what is the message that you're trying to get through? That something wasn't right. Something's not right. Greed. Greed is the first word there. Greed, indulgence, material loss. That something here was going to lead to some type of like material loss. So it says delays, standstill, resistance, stalling, indecision, fear of sacrifice, and lack of control. So I think maybe they were saying like, wait, like hold off, you know? But that maybe something here was going to lead to greed, financial loss, and some type of like delays. Or yeah, like some type of like bad luck where you have no control. Yeah. Oh my gosh, Feisty Phoenix says, it's incredibly validating to hear my experience come from someone who has no logical way of knowing my story. Can I tell you that that is exactly the thing that has like drawn me into tarot too? Because it's like, I don't feel crazy, you know? Because I'm like, oh yeah, like if you're tapping into the energy and you feel that way, then I know that I don't feel that way. Or like for no reason. Okay. So for pile number 3, pile number 3's guides, what is the message that you were trying to get through? They didn't quite catch. Oh my gosh. Okay, so part of the message is that you are a natural leader. I think that, I don't know, it's like there was some type of reckless something here. You didn't quite see it like fully. But, and maybe you thought somebody else here was like a natural leader, and there could be 2 people here, like 2 kind of masculine energies. Because one is the Emperor, the other is King of Wands. So I think you saw somebody here, and it's like you thought that they were like in control. You thought that they were like together, that they were like a good leader. Thank you, Feisty Phoenix. Yeah, like I feel like there's 2 guys, or like maybe one Emperor kind of figure, and it's like you thought that they had a plan maybe. So I think you were like, well, there's nothing else to lose. Like everything is kind of, you know, bad anyways. And I think you were listening to your head over your heart, but something about this sword, like you didn't quite have all the information or all the data or all the facts, but you were listening to your head over your heart in some kind of way because there was some type of opportunity. There was a difficult decision. You were like weighing your options. You were kind of blocked off at the heart. You were blocked off with your intuition is what I'm getting. But this is very much like head energy. Like the mind was kind of like in, but the mind, I can tell that the mind didn't have all the info, like didn't have every variable insight, but just took the variables that were kind of given. And for some of you, this could be like, I don't know, maybe you bought like a timeshare or something like at Disney or something. They pulled you into like that room and you felt like you were never going to see the light of day again. Okay, so you see it clearly now because I feel like hindsight is 20/20. And I feel like with time and the way that certain things have played out, it's not only like everything's kind of clicked into place, because it's not only like, oh, you realize that this was a mistake to kind of trust this person or to make this decision or to sign on to this passion project, whatever it was. But you can also see back to like the original seed, and you can kind of see the way that things have like kind of clicked in. You can see the pieces that were missing, and maybe that was intentionally missing. Yeah, and I think there was like an ambition. Like I think the ambition energy is like kind of coming from you. So, okay, what message from your guides did you miss? feel like there was page of cups, some kind of small energy or some kind of, it could be inner child stuff, like, or things that you knew as a child, kind of playground stuff maybe, like, I'm seeing really sweet things like between kids on the playground. Like, would you like to be next on the monkey bars or something like that? Like I'm hearing like there's that page of cups, that innocence, that kind of things that kids know just intuitively, the wonder of the world or something that was kind of like maybe forgotten, or there could have been an actual child or like a child's voice or something kind of around you. Maybe there was like a curiosity. Yeah, because I'm seeing like this mental energy. There's a curiosity here. How are you trying to get this message across? That's what I want to ask to the guides here. How are you trying to get this message across? Okay, Six of Cups. There's something relevant about the past. There was a confusion about something to do with the past. How are you trying to get this across? Could have been a friend. Something about the internet. Something about looking into the internet to see the past. I don't know. Something about that. Oh, seeking some type of personal closure to release or to see some type of new perspective. So I think the internet is a part of this for some type of closure. So maybe you were drawn into like a friend's Facebook page or like Instagram or, whatever. Or just, I don't know. And it was for some type of like personal closure, to release some type of like beliefs or to be introduced to a new belief here. Yeah, that there was some type of imbalance, there was a disharmony, there was some type of imbalance. I think this was somebody that you were familiar with. So it's like maybe a friend of yours had a perspective and they were trying to get you to listen to this friend because they thought that you were going to listen to this friend because you know this person. You have a familiarity with this person. It also could be like, I don't know, like for some of you, this is a new person and then you were drawn to like, I don't know, finding them on social media or something so that you could see their friends, like and who they're friends with. And that may have said something to you. It would have challenged something here. They were looking to give you a challenge, actually. They wanted you to challenge your beliefs or they wanted you to challenge your perspective on this like recklessness or this, but it could be that some of you got like defensive instead. They were trying to usher you through to some type of transition. There could have been like an impatience here to like actually move something. How are you trying to get this message across? Ugh, not like that. How are you trying to get... Years later, have seen the reality of friendships and starting over now. 8 years later. Let me get this deck here for some reason. Okay, so what is it that they... What is it that they missed? In the message that you were sending. Okay, karmic lesson. Romance and side hustle. Drinking, toxic lifestyle. Left you hanging. So maybe for some of you, somebody left you hanging and it was like a part of a drinking or a toxic lifestyle. It's either that they did that and for some reason you were holding out hope, you wanted to jump in with this person. Maybe this person came back around and, was saying that they were sorry or whatever. And you maybe were going through a hard time and you're like, well, it can't really get any worse, so I might as well like have a little bit of excitement. But I think Spirit was maybe drawing you to online to look at their profile, to see who they're friends with, to kind of remind you like, wait, this is a person that has like a toxic lifestyle. They left me hanging because they have a toxic lifestyle kind of a thing. Or it could be that, something happened here and they were trying to bring you some type of closure and they were drawing you to check into this person like on social media And they were trying to show you that actually you didn't have the right perspective about that person, and that the reason you had the wrong perspective is because maybe, I'm kind of hearing myself from pile number 2, where it's like you got these two people in the wrong place. Is because either you were engaged in some type of toxic lifestyle where you were like drinking and things were kind of reckless because maybe your life was sad and you're like, well, it can't get any worse, and then you started hanging out with like somebody maybe from your past that came back around, and that was like really the toxic person. But there's something about like their friends, or like, I don't know, there's something where it's like if you looked into their friends or like saw their social media or something, that you would have been like, oh, right, I remember why I left. I remember why I wasn't around, is because the toxic lifestyle here. But it could be that like for some of you though, there's somebody here you thought you had something with. They left you. They had a toxic lifestyle, and you were drawn to like look into their social media because they're in like a romance with somebody, and you were meant to see that, like who this person's in a romance with, and like, or that they jumped in, like, I don't know, something here like that. It also could go the other way where it's like you thought that somebody was toxic, and then like you were seeing them, and then like they're in some type of healthy relationship and healthy romance, and it's because that's who this person always was, and maybe you left this person hanging because of some type of like, pain or cheating, and maybe you had gotten caught, but and maybe you're kind of messed up over the situation. But it feels like I'm hearing the word closure. They were trying to bring you some type of closure, or they were trying to bring this person some type of closure. Look, goodbye. When I said that, I just heard that AOL, like, goodbye. Yeah. Okay, so there's something here to do with the toxic lifestyle. So, okay, putting all this together, and this really has felt like breadcrumbs. I feel like I'm on the way to Hansel and Gretel's house, and I'm just or I'm on the way back from that old witch's house. Oh, that might be a part of it. Like, turn away from that old witch's house. Like, kind of follow your breadcrumbs back home. You were dropping the breadcrumbs so that you could follow it home, kind of thing. And I feel like I'm following the breadcrumbs to kind of get home and to maybe like get closure in the situation. Okay, so I feel like this is a group who you went through some kind of hard time and you thought it really couldn't get worse than this anyways. So there was a kind of reckless attitude where I feel like maybe you were primed to kind of jump into some kind of recklessness where you sort of knew that you needed to look before you leaped. You sort of knew that it could kind of go wrong, but you were just in maybe a deep depression or something, and you were like, it doesn't matter anyways. You had like head over heart kind of decision, and you were calculating with your head. But again, I can see that your head didn't have all of like the full kind of pieces. So you were trying to kind of do a tabulation like in your mind. And there's something about like two guys or like a guy, like there's that emperor and the king of wands. It's like two men, or it's an emperor type figure that had like some type of plan. But this is with the king of wands being there. I know the king of wands is a king, right? Which like has some level of maturity, but it's like the king of wands is Jesha energy, which isn't exactly the most mature of the masculine energies. It's a very mature feminine energy, but it's not exactly the most mature, but usually they can be very successful. They just, this is somebody who kind of, they don't treat women very nicely, and everything's kind of about them, and they are very materialistic. So you could have followed somebody here down like the wrong path, a masculine energy that was kind of, but that person was very materialistic, but you didn't see it because you were sad already, and you thought that like things couldn't really get worse, and it wasn't like a heart kind of decision. And so you kind of went down that path. And now I'm seeing, Coney Island with Pinocchio. So maybe you were telling lies. Maybe you were lying to yourself. I also feel like that person that you were following was lying to you. But sometimes people who are like just that type of way, I feel like this person could have just been so confident in their lying that it made you feel like they had like a plan, and they maybe even knew. Because again, I'm seeing the Coney Island, and it's like the people who are, there's other stuff in our world that has to do with islands, and I'm just going to leave it at that. But, it's like they kind of knew what they were doing, because they were like debauchery. Like they were bringing these innocent people like into this kind of debauchery. So I feel like you're kind of an innocent, even if you're like a full grown adult. Like they kind of knew that maybe that's like what you didn't see. They kind of knew that you couldn't possibly like fathom this. Like this was kind of out of the ordinary for you or something like that. I don't know. And your guides were trying to help get you back in alignment. Okay, so this says alignment, personal values, overwhelmed by choices, lack of purpose, fantasy, illusion, diversion, and confusion. Something here diverted your path, led you on some type of like diversion. And I think you were seeking out clarity on that path, but it just led to more confusion. And so your guides were trying to guide you back into alignment and your personal values. But in order to do that, they needed to lead you to some type of closure, which I think they were trying to lead you to the internet and to looking up a friend. And I think it was somebody from your past. And it was either that's who this person was, like when they came back around and they just wanted to remind you that you left for a reason. Like this person is toxic. They have a toxic lifestyle. Look at who they're hanging around. But there's maybe even somebody else here from your past they thought that could kind of get through to you, like a friend from your past, that there was a familiarity there and you love this person and trusted this person. And so you might listen to their experience or like, I don't know. But I do feel like hindsight is 20/20. I'm giving myself closure. I don't need harassing anywhere near me. Yeah. Okay. I'm hearing, because this says fruits of their labor, and I'm hearing, and by their fruits you shall know them. So they were really trying to get you to look at like the fruits of this person, the fruits of, I'm really getting that this person had their lines crossed, like with their path, like with two energies. It was like their path with people that were involved, and they were trying to kind of show you the truth, unearth. There's something here about unearthing it, something to do with friends, but I also am hearing like by their friends, like who each of these people, because I'm also hearing know me by my enemies. So like who each of these people like deaded in their life, like, but also who they have around them, you know, and really understanding these people's friends, like understanding this person through their friends and through their kind of like relationships and through the, like the fruits of their labor sort of a thing. Okay. Anything else here, Spirit? Yeah, this is like confusing between like some type of conflicted relationship and some type of like love and peaceful, harmonious relationship is what I'm getting. I keep hearing, I love you, but I won't be a fool for you. Your boos mean nothing. I've seen what you cheer. Okay, anything else, Spirit? Yeah, something here to do with like some type of immediate action. They wanted you to resist some type of immediate action, some type of like impulsive action, some type of knee-jerk reaction. Look, forced sin, cunning, the dark side of humanity. Yeah, because I feel like they were trying to say, like, don't go over here. Like, this is, like, the dark side. Like, you're going to get sucked down into something you don't kind of understand. Fake your death if you have to. Disguise, concealment, keeping secrets. There's a hidden truth. Yeah, there's, like, some type of hidden truth here. And they were like, if anything, just stop. When in doubt, do nothing. When in doubt, do nothing. Marriage, unrequited love. I feel like there's oh my gosh, this is how painful. But I feel like for some of you, you got these two mixed up. You could have ended up in a marriage with somebody that you thought loved you because there's some type of like this cunning energy, but it was maybe they were like using you. They profited off of your labor in some way. It was like advantageous for them in some way. But then somebody that you maybe thought it was unrequited love, accept the pain, fulfill your needs in other ways. Like you thought you had to accept the pain. Like that was actually marriage energy. I don't know. It just feels like, this is sad. I feel like there's something here where you were like, it really cannot get any worse than this. Like it really cannot. So, whatever, I'm just going to take some type of risk or like be reckless or not think about what I'm doing too much because the pain, and I'm just trying to numb the pain. And, there was like some type of friend. Maybe you jumped in with a friend. Yeah. Or maybe somebody else did. Maybe that's the thing that you misunderstood about somebody else is that like in their pain, they like jumped in with somebody here. I don't know. I think I'm going to leave that there because these messages are starting to get like all kind of like confusing for me. So I'm just going to leave that there. Universe like challenge accepted. Cheering you on from Canada. I can't imagine how hard it is to navigate the system there. Oh, hey, we're cheering right back because we're friends. Don't forget it. We are friends. Some of us have not forgotten that. Okay. So, yep, my ex-husband. The next shirt that I was going to get is a Canada shirt. I have a Minnesota shirt, and I was going to get like a big shirt with a Canada leaf on it. Anyway. Okay. So, we shall move into the general messages. Compassion. Compassion, compassion, compassion. Okay. Do you hear Luna? Okay. Let's see. General messages. What deck should I use? This one? Okay, Spirit. What general messages? Should we bunny butt this? I feel like we just need to bunny butt it. Bunny butts, bunny, bunny, bunny butts, bunny butts, bunny, bunny, bunny butts. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. So, that was a tower moment. Hold on. Okay, so Spirit, for the general messages, what message do you want to bring through? What messages? Oh my gosh. Okay. This came out in another reading. These two cards. I cannot remember for the life of me, but it was not too long ago. And it might be the reading that's coming out on Patreon tomorrow. Okay, so somebody here is feeling exposed. I don't know if I'm overlapping with another reading, but it's coming through in this one, so I'm just going to say this. So somebody here is feeling exposed. They're in this kind of like family energy. It's the way that they've kind of always done things. And then here comes this like force or person that is coming in from the outside. And whoever this is, it's an idea, it's a person, it's a force, it's something here. It's coming into like this person's space. They're like their home. It's the place where they're able to kind of like hide. It's a place where they feel comfortable, or they have in the past. And they're able to feel comfortable there because there's something here where they like hide, like either in their emotions, or like they tuck themselves back and they're able to kind of like move, around certain things. They're used to kind of getting around certain things. But because of the introduction of this like new energy here, and it may have even been like an accident, like just some type of like force of nature here, but it broke some kind of a mold. And again, this could be a person. This could be a person. This could be an idea. With Aquarius here, it could be coming in from the internet. And I was just talking in pile number 3 how they were somebody's guides. They were trying to help you by getting you on the internet to look into like a person from your past or a connection here from your past. And something here is like it's bringing forward like an understanding or an idea or a concept that is Danishta energy. Now, Danishta energy, I feel like, don't get it twisted. If this is you, if you feel kind of like this way, Danishta energy. Danishta people have good karmas. They have really, really good karmas, but it's like also the height of Mars. So sometimes their good karmas can come through in ways that feel kind of like destructive or like, again, angry. But Mars, think about the height of Mars, because Mars is a malefic. But when Mars is pure energy, like when Mars is like refined and healthy, which I feel like here, like it's really not. But when it is a very purifying energy. It helps us to purify our karmas because Mars means action. Karma means action. So when our Mars is high vibrational and in alignment with things, it can just bust through cycles. And I actually feel like somebody here who is in this energy, who is like, wait, I've been hiding like behind my family or my traditions, behind my emotions. I've been kind of like navigating around something here. They actually have really good karmas. Something here, like I'm getting goosebumps. They actually do have really good karmas because for this, like, this to come in. Now, it might be, again, this could be a person, because I think I want to say this is coming out on Patreon, maybe not, but there's whatever reading I'm thinking of, this was a person. I was mostly getting that this was a person, that it was somebody that like had to kind of come into this person's family. So maybe somebody married somebody, and whoever they married was like from a different place. They had a different culture. They had a different perspective or a different outlook. And at first it's like kind of very abrasive, but what it's also doing is it's like shining a light on, this like family energy, and it's actually as a result of good karma. So just because it's friction and just because it's abrasive doesn't mean that like you're being punished or that it's even bad karma. It's actually like some type of karmic buster kind of energy, but it's breaking through something here, and it could even have to do with like, I don't know, this is kind of a businessy energy, or like climbing something like somebody here is maybe climbing, or it's like something to do with the internet. Maybe you were on the internet and you were looking up something to do with business or climbing. I don't know. Whatever this energy is, it's like, it's really busting through. It's really getting through to this person, whether this is you or whether this is your person. Don't get it twisted. This is good karma. Whatever this is actually what good karma looks like sometimes. It's what good karma kind of feels like. But somebody here is oh, look, it's the same kind of energy, right? They're like hidden. They're tucked back. They're seeing. And I think that they are seen in their strategy. Like something about this, they're seen in their strategy, and it's kind of like pinned this person. But whatever is pinning this person, it's not pinning them like with a sharp thing and it's hard and it's aggressive. No, it's more with like knowledge here. Like somebody is coming in. Maybe this is you. Maybe some of you have like, maybe you left your family and you've like, whatever it was Aquarian, whatever you did. So you went somewhere else that has a different way of thinking, a different culture. You went on the internet. You got some type of like education. I don't know. This could be you like returning to your family, and it's like you're not getting pushed around anymore. But the way that like it's bringing this light in is through knowledge. It's through some type of like expansion. And this is like teacher energy. This is a gift. Like whatever this is, it's a gift, even though it's kind of like uncomfortable. And there is some type of like buried treasure here. It feels like an inner buried treasure. And it also is like this person. For some of you, this is you, where you, again, like you left your family dynamics, you learned something new, you got in touch with your inner treasure, and that's transformed you in a way that you don't understand. And you have this like very strong, potent energy. And going back into this family kind of dynamic, I feel like it's seen as kind of abrasive, but also it's not necessarily unpleasant. Like there's friction here. It's challenging of certain people's habits and behaviors, but they still like you. And I feel like you just really break the mold. There's something about you that is, or like whatever this like knowledge is, or possibly for some of you, this is somebody that you brought home, like your partner, that there's something about that is just, it's shining a light on this. Yeah, look, we have Venus and Jupiter here. Both are the spiritual teachers that like come down to like this planet. So it's like some type of like higher energy that's helping and assisting like in balancing out the karma, but like some type of conversation or relationship patterns. I feel like the impetus is to like rail against it, whether this is you or whether this is your person. It's like they want to rail against it because they're trying to like protect themselves, and they want to move selfishly in some type of way, but say that it's for relationship and for balance, but they're not able to get away with this anymore. But it's making this person feel seen, and that's kind of spooking them. It's making them feel like exposed and like put upon. So I don't know, this could be you that's feeling this way, but I'm just here to tell you, this is somehow you've drawn this in, and it's because you have very good karmas. This is actually good karma. It's assistance. Like there's some type of, I don't know. But for others of you, I feel like this is your energy and you're having this effect and you might not realize how potent it is. And I don't think like this person or anything would be, they feel the friction of it, that it's not that they don't like you, because I feel like they actually do like you, or that you're just really different and kind of like awe-inspiring in a way. That's not exactly it. It's like, it's coming through as like a kind of attraction. Like there's something about your energy that's just like really, really attractive. And they may have like accidentally got themselves in it with you. Oh, I know what it is. I feel like they accidentally stepped in it with you because Aquarius, look, we've got Leo Aquarius. Aquarius is kind of like a group. Maybe they thought that you were kind of a follower energy or that you were kind of different, but there's leadership energy here. Look, Jupiter is the teacher. Like, so you have this big energy. This is very much giving like Sigma. I know that like a lot of people don't like, it's like Alpha, Sigma, Beta or whatever. But what I mean by the Sigma thing is like Sigmas are basically alphas, but alphas have to be alphas all the time, which in my opinion, I don't think that means that you're a true alpha, but it's like they always have to be in charge. They always have to be at the front of the room. They always have to be like this or that. Sigmas are alpha energy, but they're perfectly fine, like letting other people shine, like sitting at the back of the room. So I feel like there's some kind of energy like this where it's like, oh, you got me entirely twisted. Like I'm not a follower. I'm not a beta. I am just perfectly fine allowing other people to like shine. I can read the room. I'm socially intelligent. But if I need to step forward, when I do, I'm very knowledgeable and I'm very confident and I can like really put it down. I'm just well-rounded. Like this is Empress energy. Even if this is a man, this is Empress energy. Even for some of you, this is a person that you've brought home and somebody in your family feels like shine a light on or like put upon. And yeah, it's like, I'm not a pushover. I'm actually like very confident. And somebody here, I think, would feel more comfortable around somebody that they could kind of run around. And actually, that's wrong. Like, that's actually false. They would be in a worse position having somebody like that around. Somebody here just like wants to be in control. But it comes from a place, I think, of like self-defense and like some type of emotional place. Okay, Spirit, what are you wanting to say about this? Yeah, somebody here is like shining a light on like a fantasy, or they're shining a light that something here is not what it seems. And I think what it seems is like that it seems like it's family. It seems like it's emotional. It seems like it's comforting or nurturing or like, but it's actually not. Like it's actually not. Yeah, somebody here sees like beneath the surface that some type of routine, some type of pattern. Like it could be a speech pattern. It could be they see it and there's some type of blockage here. It's like very karmic to, there's something karmic. This person could be like trying to look at you, in particular, like your Taurus space. So like, I don't know, your home, your money, your like, I don't know. Cause I feel like whoever this is, okay, cause this reminded me of pile number 3 when I was like, their spirit guides have tried to get them on the internet to get them to look up some type of 6 of Cups energy, like children energy, past energy, something like that, right? To look into it. But they're in like this kind of fantasy sort of space and they're trying to I think they're trying to pull somebody apart and say that they're two-faced when like this person isn't. And it's because they have a strength to them. Like, I feel like somebody here is wondering how somebody can be so it's follower energy. I can just tell this person was wrong from the jump. And I feel like somebody here was like planted by God is what I want to say. Like they were planted by the divine because of like the way that they are. This is somebody who is different. Like they're different than what this person's used to dealing with. Just full stop. They've never had to process a person like this before. Because the traits that this person displays, the way that traits cluster together, right? So it's like the traits that this person displays, whoever this is that's feeling kind of put upon, they're used to associating this person's traits with, I think, like a follower energy or somebody that they could easily manipulate or kind of like yank around. That's not it at all. Like this person's traits, I think they're pro-social. Like I think that they're cooperative. I think that they're caring. I think that they are like socially savvy. You know, they don't have to always like be in charge, but that doesn't mean that they're not capable of it. And this person's kind of really underestimated that. And I think they want to feel outraged or they want to kind of put the blame on this person and say, oh, you're a narcissist or you're like two-faced so that they don't have to do the work. So that they don't have to be like exposed. I also think that they feel the threat of being exposed. Their ego feels the threat is like kind of the better way of saying it. And their ego should be annihilated. Like this is an ego death. And we've all been through ego deaths here, probably. Probably you're not on tarot channels and looking into spirituality if you've not experienced at least one ego death. And then it's kind of like going over a roller coaster where you're like, oh no, like, cause it feels like total annihilation. Like everything's gonna like end. But ego death is the kind of death that you come out better on the other side. And it can even be like kind of exhilarating and fun. And that's what this person sits on the precipice of, but they want to fight against it. I don't know that this person's been through, at least consciously, I don't think that they've been through an ego death before. So it feels like they're total, like that you're the threat that's going to bring in some type of total annihilation. And if it's not you, then it's some type of partner that you brought around that is like your soulmate and is like a great person. But this person is used to being in some type of like routine. And I think they feel really seen and I think they feel really exposed and it's not, I think Spirit is trying to get this person for that to be their place of comfort of like, you can actually be really known and really seen because how can you be really loved if you're not ever really seen? So this person's just kind of always like playing a chess game. That's sad because I feel like this person maybe doesn't like know love or anything, but they're really in their Mars energy, very, very defensive. Somebody here is defensive. And when you're in your Mars energy, it's like you need an enemy. And I feel like this person is like kind of looking at an enemy, but their Mars is debilitated in this situation. And somebody else here isn't. Like their Mars is like purified in some way. Like I don't know where their Mars started from, but it's like their Mars like was ratcheted up, and it's like actually very pure. So basically it's like when whoever this is that feels exposed is in their Mars energy, they're just using it to juke and jive around the problem. That's why it's debilitated, because it seems like that's going to work, but it doesn't really help anybody. But this other person, this new energy, or idea or whatever, if it's going to be in its Mars energy, if it's going to start a fight, or if it's going to defend, or if it's coming from a very high vibrational place. It's in alignment with truth. It's not coming from this low vibrational, like ego, I must defend my ego. This person is like, I will defend the truth and my principles, kind of a thing. And there's a karma that's playing out here. There's some type of karma. And I feel like there's maybe like some type of strategic or defensive communication. And I say strategic because I think this person might be communicating in a strategic way, but their communication is like defensive. This person's strategy has to do with defense. And I think it's because they probably think that they stink in some way, and they don't want to be like exposed. But this person's going to be pleasantly surprised that they're loved anyways, and they're loved more when like they're just honest about their bullshit. But like there's still some type of defensive communication and some type of karmic communication. There's just some type of karmic communication, because I also feel like this person is the authority. I feel like this person is I don't like this energy, because it feels very it's worse than passive aggressive, because it's not passive aggressive. What it is, it's like they're communicating defensively to try and maintain or regain the authority in the situation. You see what I'm saying? It's not necessarily that they're being passive aggressive. They're communicating in a way that is somehow defensive and skirting around the problem in order to try and either regain or maintain authority in this situation. Whereas I feel like this person just is the authority. This is the person with like the idea. This is the person with this is the new way, this is like the knowledge. This is the new way. This is like light bringer energy. This is spiritual teacher energy. This is a gift from the divine. And they are the authority, and they are this person's karma. In some way they are like dealing with this person. Because I feel that this would have had to go on for a while. Because this person was in a place, and I think that it's their family, where they felt like they were in control. So there's people in their family. And whenever they were around those people, they were running a rigmarole. They were running them all around. So for a long time, those are the people that they got to interact with. And then Spirit was like, nope, and here's your karma. And this person's karma is that they have to, if they want to work their way through this problem, if they want answers, or if they, now they have to deal with this other person. They have to communicate with that person who genuinely just is the authority. It's not something that they have to like fight for. And if they're going to put this person in a place where they have to communicate defensively, they perpetuate their karma. Okay, anything else? This energy is so different from one another. So different. These two. Like Cancer and Aquarius have very little in common. Very, very little in common. And I'm getting that actually it's this Cancer energy that is the air, like very like protective of their like space, and is in this kind of cold energy, and is like feeling the threat here like of this other person. But they're trying to give the impression that like, I'm a wee Cancer, I'm sensitive, I'm me go in my shell. All this is control moves, it's power moves. Whereas this person, it's actually like in this moon energy. This is looking like a power stance, but it's moon energy. And again, moon energy is usually soft. I also feel like that whoever this is or whatever this is, it's like emotions as a strength, not as a weapon, but this is just emotions as a source of stability and strength. This is somebody who can't be emotionally manipulated like the way that other people can be, because this person's just going to see the maneuvering, and they're going to think less of this person because they're emotionally maneuvering. And they're just going to be like, I don't understand why you can't have a conversation based on merit. I don't understand why you can't have a conversation based on facts, and why instead you have to be emotionally manipulative. Because I feel like that's what this person does. They're communicating from this like emotional maneuvering. And I can see here that the maneuvering, it's not to go towards something and like it's not going towards something to make a strike at something. It's going around something to maintain control. So I think a lot of times this is a person who doesn't get branded as controlling as they are, because we think about somebody who's manipulative as going after something. They want something, so they're going to make it happen no matter what, right? This is somebody who just wants to kind of teeter around the edge. And it's the same pattern. It's the same like pattern that's hello. I'm so sorry. I needed to make a move there for a minute, I think. Not really sure what that was, but okay. So yeah. There's just there's a karma in the routine space. Also, okay, so there's a difference in these people's earthy energy because something is built on routine and being kind of sly behind the surface, whereas this other person that they're looking at, yes, they're Aquarius, but they have this Taurus vibe. This is an interesting person or like, again, idea that's like kind of coming in because there is a stability here in the earthy space that is not here with this other person. Because the way that they behave and the way that they act, it doesn't ever give rise to stability. This person will constantly have to be chasing after stability, which is what they use their manipulation for and their defensive communication. They're just constantly chasing after it. It's wrong. Everything about this from the bottom, like it needs to be uprooted. Like from the root, everything about this is just wrong. It's incorrect. And and that's what this person is kind of here to actually show the way. But this needs to be like the authority of whatever this Aquarius energy is needs to be acknowledged. That it's an authority. They're not on the same level. And there's Mars energy here. This person is looking for an enemy. And this like high vibrational Mars isn't looking for an enemy. It's purified itself. So it's bringing in a new idea or a new way of being or a new concept. And it is the truth and it is the answer and it is the way. But I feel like it's like this person, this Cancer person, they're at the bottom floor and this other person's like way at the top floor. And I'm telling you, this is like some type of gift here because I just feel like if they listen to this person or just like admit that this person, something here is like the authority and they're not, and they're really stuck in a negative pattern, I'm telling you, this person can go zoop. Like they can just take the elevator right up to this person because this person is calling them up. This person is like, come meet me. Yeah, I'll buzz you in. Like that's it. It's like, hey, can you take your shoes off at the door? If you take your shoes off at the door and learn how to act, and then I'll buzz you in. And this person is like, really thinking about playing all my bullshit games still because I think it works for me even though it doesn't. This person has some level of stability here. I cannot tell you the image that's coming into my mind, but it's not quite solid, you know? It's not quite solid. It's never, ever firm. It's the only thing this person knows how to do. I think it's just distracting enough. Like this person just consistently engaged in their like machinations. And it is a kind of machination. It is a kind of manipulation. I don't think this person likes to view themselves as manipulative because they don't have like some type of goal that they're going directly towards. There is a goal that they're going directly towards, but they go around it, if that makes sense. I think this is also somebody who tries to recruit other people to do their bidding. And then that way they can blame the other people, you know? So like they'll have a real dick that they kind of partner with. And that person goes more directly at it. And this person is like, oh, I don't know. More than me. Like, I was in the background. It's like, why though? Why are you always in the background, Karen? Why is it always you in the background? Like, why are you never in the background when good shit happens? It's always when there's a fucking tyrant on the loose. Are you in the background? You know, it's like, something here needs to be like taken seriously, like taken into focus, you know, about this person doesn't like to think of themselves as manipulative, but they are. They don't like to think of themselves as like, well, there's something that they're trying to get to. And it is control. But I think this person has like, I don't know, like Michael Jackson using his high voice, you know? And then like you hear some things that he's talking about and he's like, so anyways, and you're like, what? You know? And I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan. So I'm not, that's neither here nor there. But it's like that kind of thing where you're like, you're not though. You know, there's like an innocence where, or it's a pretense of innocence. And somebody here can see it. Somebody here can see it where I feel like there's been people that will let this person get away with it. They can't really quite see it. There's a functioning dysfunction. There's a way that things kind of operate in this family. But then like somebody else here is just like, I think they see it. I think that they know that they're like kind of different. But when push comes to shove, if something does like disrupt their sensibilities, this person is more than capable of not just putting their foot down. They're capable of leading the way. And they're also capable of like teaching and like dispelling some type of knowledge. And it's a new knowledge because I actually am getting that this elevator ride, like this person did it already, like kind of on their own. They like, I want to say they purified their Mars space. They've cleared some type of karmic block. They've either in this lifetime or in other lifetimes, they've been there before. Like our teachers, the people that come in to like help us, they don't lord over us. They might be superior to us in their experience and their knowledge. And that's why we respect them. But like they're on the same level of us as like they've been through it too. Like they've been through it before. So they're not better than you because they also were in that situation at one time, you know? So like, bloop, like I feel like they went like this and then you can go like this too. It's an invitation. So it's very positive energy, but there's friction because somebody here is looking through their ego, but somebody doesn't recognize that it's their ego because their ego is this Cancerian energy. That's like, well, what do you mean? I mean, I never get involved, like, you know, but it's like, no, you have to start unpacking the way in which you go about getting the things that you want. That's what Mars is. Mars is how we go about getting the things that we want. And this person, they to the side here. That doesn't make you an egoless being. You know, that doesn't mean that you don't have an agenda. But this person kind of gets it twisted because it's hard to look at themselves like that, especially when they, I think they'll usually partner up with somebody who is the more like overt dick. And then they're like, well, I'm not that bad. And it's like, no. That's not the rubric. The rubric isn't, oh, well, I'm not that bad, so it's okay and I can just sit in my filth over here. No. We need to be around people that are like, wow, I want to be like that. You know? Like think about what I could be if I dealt with my stuff, you know? So I think that's what this person is learning. I'm not getting a bad vibe off of this person. Like they are a person who is alive that has an ego, that has had to figure out how to get the things that they want, and they have maladaptions. That's who this person is. But the thing that scares me about this person is that they're really not, what I'm looking at is defensive communication. So they're hiding. That's what that means. They're hiding. And they're not really looking like they're going to kick it into high gear of like owning their shit. That's kind of what I'm calling this person out about. They're looking like they want to do the same old. And even if because defensive communication, it's not necessarily like the same thing as strategic. So it's almost like this person would say anything to put forward any image so that they can eventually like hide back in their shell and whatever their comfort zone is. It's a dangerous kind of person because you might believe for a while that they're making the change that they need to make. They're actually not. And they have no intention to. It's more like this person's just responding to the anxiety of the moment. And then as soon as that dies down, then they'll kind of eke back into like their same patterns and routines. And if you are this person or if you know this person, I feel like you probably do know that. But like this person's kind of, I really just don't see them owning that. And so it's hard to say that this is going to have a happy ending when they're not owning that and they're like communicating from a defensive place. Yeah. Oh, nice. Oh, you're welcome. Okay. So the emotional person is playing on the person who left the situations to be this manipulative person, and the Aquarius is trying to tell them it's not what you think, but he enjoys it there. I don't know that the conversation energy, I don't think it's restricted. There's Saturn energy. There's like very karmic communication. So I don't know that it's like necessarily active kind of communication so much as like the way that these people just naturally are. Because there's somebody here who is in this kind of family energy. They're not showing that they feel like this friction with this like Aquarius energy, but they kind of do. But they like the Aquarius person. But this Aquarius person is bringing in some type of new concept or idea. Or they got on the internet, and Aquarius can literally be the internet. So it could be the internet is bringing in some type of like new idea, a new way of looking at it. And it's making this person feel exposed. And so there's like a dance that's going on here. And it's mostly like what's going on inside of this Cancerian person that I'm describing. This Aquarius person might suspect, like, I feel like this Aquarius person has their own things kind of going on. Kind of like the internet. The internet is the internet. Like, it's just going to be interneting all day, you know? But I feel like this person's kind of preoccupied with like the ideas that this person is kind of like bringing in. And they may literally not be aware of it because I feel like it's just about the knowledge for this person. This is somebody who's purified their Mars. This is somebody who has learned something because of that. And this is somebody who is sharing what they've learned. And thus in this particular instance is a spiritual teacher. I don't think that they think of themselves like that, even if this is just the internet, because Aquarius can literally be the internet, you know? But it's like, but they are actually the authority. But this is not a person who's like thinking of themselves like that or just like trying to say like, well, I'm the authority and you need to listen to me. I just think they're doing their own thing. I think you have two people here that are doing their own thing and but their energies are reacting and creating some type of like alchemical reaction. And for those of you that are on Patreon, that might be, that doesn't reflect any of the piles that I remember, but like this might be like kind of part of their chemistry, their alchemical reaction. Is just that somebody here is really shining a light and really highlighting for this other person. But I don't think that they mean to. I think that this is just kind of their energy, you know? And I think it's also this other person's karma because they are confronted with a person, a kind of person that they've never been around before, that their tactics actually, this person's kind of immune to their tactics, basically. Like this person's like, I can see your emotional manipulation for a mile away, Linda. Okay. Like, it's a beautiful sentiment, but you don't intend to change. Like you haven't like done anything to change. We'll see. Like this person's like, we'll see, because they kind of know. I think this person kind of knows that this person's communicating from a defensive place to hide themselves and whatever they're saying, because they might be saying that they're going to do certain actions, but this person actually thinks that this person, as soon as they can get away with it, they're going to try to sink back into like their behaviors. So, okay. They said he talked high to continuously give his vocal cords a workout. Interesting. I think like he was so like, he would always say things like, you know how he would always wear sunglasses? We're talking about Michael Jackson, for those of you that are not looking there. Because I remember listening to some of those like phone conversations that he had, and he was talking about like when you look into somebody's eyes, you see the window into their soul. And so there were certain people he didn't want to see that because he felt so shy, and he knew that he was kind of a broken person, so he would like wear the sunglasses. It would be like an intentional choice. So I think that he was very aware, especially being like that famous for so long, just that he had to carve out like a place for him, like his private life. And so I think if, to the extent that he kind of like put on a character, because I've seen other quotes too where it's like he kind of knew that he was putting on a bit of a show, but it wasn't coming, it was more from like this, it was like a survival adaptation for like the kind of life that he like lived. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. So I think that's all I have. Thank you guys for spending some time with me on Friday. Tomorrow we have, if you're on Patreon, we have a pre-recorded reading, and it is, what is your alchemy / chemistry with them? So, and then, the next reading that we have after that is, where does your soul truly belong? And then, the live stream after that, which would be next month, is delusion versus love. Am I fooling myself? And we also have from the vault somewhere in there. So, okay. All right. Well, that's what I have for you guys. And I will see you when I see you. Bye.